Well, a very good afternoon to you, race fans. Welcome to round 2 of the Alliance Sim Racing Endurance Championship. We're here, of course, for the Sandown 500 at the spiritual home of endurance racing in Melbourne's southeast. It is where horsepower meets history, of course, the iconic Sandown International Raceway. A very dramatic opening round at Phillip Island all the way back in March at this stage. But of course, the championship now swings to the fast straights, the hard braking zones, and the very tight and technical sections of Sandown. This is a track that rewards bravery, precision, and teamwork in equal measure. The long back straight into Dandenong Road corner, of course, is famous for bold overtakes and brutal mistakes, and I have no doubt we'll see more of that here today, where our teams are tested not just on their pace, but their strategy, their stamina, and of course their pit execution over 500 Ks of punishing Gen 3 supercar action. This is not just a sprint in disguise, this is absolute endurance. Tyre life, driver swaps, consistency, they all play their part in deciding who our eventual winner will be here today. The standings are starting to take shape in the broader championship after the first round, of course, and every lap today could be the difference in the overall championship standings. I think you can expect fireworks drama, maybe even a little touch of chaos, of course. It is endurance racing and anything can happen here at Sandown. Welcome back. If you're joining us for the first time, though, welcome to what is some of the best Gen 3 supercar racing that you are going to see anywhere in the iRacing scene. My name is Jared Cole, and on behalf of everybody at Simple Racing Broadcasts, we welcome you to yet another round here with some of the best drivers you'll find in these cars. I know there's been a lot of practice going on since the end of the standard season with Alliance Sim Racing, and we're going to see just what this is going to bring for us today. I am joined in the booth for the first part of this event by none other than Lucas Sott. Sotto, your first time covering Alliance Sim Racing. What are you looking forward to today?
Hello everybody, and thank you for having me. Great to be here. I'm just looking forward to an action-packed race. This track speaks for itself. The long straights, the hard braking zones is a good recipe for good hard racing, especially in an endurance format as well.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. And look, of course, this is the main event. We did have qualifying earlier in the week, and with just a little while left to go while the drivers are getting set for that, we will go and take a look at just a bit of the highlights from that qualifying session on Thursday night.
Let's do it.
And of course, qualifying race 1, what a way to kick off. Our drivers all lining up, a 16-lap race for each of the two drivers in the teams. And Scott Gamble from Evolution Racing Team and Wayne Walker from Accelerated Endurance started on the front row and really just absolutely took the race from there. As always, being Sandown, chaos into turn 1. Thankfully not too much damage done, but certainly a couple of drivers seriously impacted by that, and it is hard work to catch up from there as the race progresses. But really, right from the start, Scott Gamble and Wayne Walker just started to absolutely run away with this one. No matter what the other drivers tried, they just could not catch them, and it was a race between the two teams from the very, very start. We got to lap 5 before we saw the first of the real action, and Jake Slade from AITT Revolution E-Racing getting very, very lucky here in the 244 car to not roll over. You can see his tyres caught that kitty litter, and very, very lucky to keep it upright and keep his race underway. Could have ended much worse there, Lucas. It's not what you want to see, is it?
That is extremely close. That could have been absolutely disastrous. Very lucky for him to get away with that and keep going. I'm just looking at the slow-mo again on the live stream. Yeah, that's as close as you can get before it starts to tip over and it's all over.
Absolutely. We had a tight battle for 3rd and 4th with Evolution Racing's Daniel Hall, Orbit Drop Bear's Cotto Nixon, but the story remained for the rest of this first qualifier up front with Scott Gamble and Wayne Walker. Gamble eventually getting the best of Wayne Walker and getting out in front, and unfortunately, no matter what Walker could do with the pace that we know he has, just could not reel in Gamble, and Evolution Racing Team taking the checkered flag and the max points there. In qualifying race number 1. Qualifying race number 2, of course, held immediately after on Thursday night, and I mean, you expect more drama always, right? The second race, we've seen how it plays out in the first, and you kind of expect the drivers to be going a little harder. We didn't even make it to turn 1 before the first incident in race 2. Andrew Rushworth from Accelerates and Michael Whiting from Fishy Motorsport just coming together off the line, and it set off an absolute cluster of events with 4, 5, 6 drivers all impacted, losing body panels before they even made it into turn 1. And of course, Michael Whiting from Fishy Motorsport, they're probably coming off as one of the worst. So that got us underway. Again, though, the story up front was Evolution Racing Team and Accelerated Endurance, so they will absolutely be the car to watch, or the cars to watch here today, because they did set out to make the best of it. Lap 4, Logan Barnett running in 4th at the time, right behind David Coleman, comes through that Pertec corner, gets a big moment, and just manages to catch that slide. Amazing car control. He kept it on track and kept it moving along. Then we got to the next lap, and you can see the difference here in just how a brief moment will really flick the whole race upside down. Nick Heusler from Angry Birds did a great job to pull the car up before it went into the barrier fence there. And not 30 seconds later, Todd Martin coming through with a bit of damage already, an almost picture-perfect replication, but he couldn't get it pulled up. Heavy contact with the fence. And that was effectively the end of Todd Martin's race from Quantum Racing. That front left was looking very much the worse for wear after that one. Again, though, the story continued to be Evolution Racing and Accelerate Sim Racing out in front, Scott Mackay and Greg Favell, showing that they're absolutely up to the task as second drivers. And then we thought it was all over. We thought we were maybe, I don't know, done with the drama for the day. Lap 14, Logan Barnett. I swear this guy has 9 lives. A huge moment coming into the chicane, just managing to keep it on track. How he's managed to keep that straight across the grass there, I have no idea. But in the end, holding on and getting through to the end. And Evolution Racing, Scott Mackay, all the way to the end. Keep your eye there, though, on David Coleman in 3rd place. We know he's got good pace in these Gen 3 supercars, and he was certainly the closest to those front two through the qualifying events. So in the end, the grid was set by those 2 qualifying races, and certainly plenty of drama. But at the end of the day, only 16 laps for each of those drivers, Lucas. 161, if my count is correct, today over the 500 kilometers. It's going to be a big one, isn't it?
It is. That is action-packed qualifying, and expect no less from today, although the mindset will change slightly, being a much longer race, 161 laps, and it's just going to be interesting to see how it all unfolds, especially earlier on when the field is all bunched together, just to put the overall long-term game in their heads, to see how they can keep it straight on the track and out of trouble. But of course, for the viewers, want to see a few thrills and spills, so either way, it's going to be very
It's all going to be fun for us, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Exactly. Yep.
We've got a couple of new teams in there this time around, and that's always adding a whole other element to the drama. If we're not familiar with the drivers, it always provides a bit of a mystery box for us. So a bit of support out there already for the Full Throttle Bandits in the chat. Good to see you. And of course, EWT Racing getting some support as usual. There's a few teams though that absolute new to me drivers, so looking forward to seeing what they bring to today's race. Now, the plan, of course, at the start of any endurance race, it doesn't always come off the way that you're hoping it would, Lucas. We had the pleasure, I suppose we'll call it, of taking on the Nürburgring 24-hour. What seems like a lifetime ago. I think it was only last weekend, wasn't it?
It was, yep.
Mate, that
it definitely feels a lot longer.
I'll tell you what, the experience that we had there, you translate that to something like the Sandown 500 on a just as technically challenging track, but certainly nowhere near as long as the Nürburgring. To actually keep the sort of pace that we'll see from these drivers today for 500 Ks straight, it's going to take it out of them, even though it is a much shorter time frame, won't it?
It will. This is definitely the type of races where the best of the best will get separated from the rest. It's just going to see who can keep the pace up, who can keep the cars on track, hit the apexes, and to do it over and over and over again for a few hours. And compared to the sprint races where you can go out there for half hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour, and just bang it all off, this is going to be different, and it's definitely, like I said earlier, it's going to be entertaining to see who can hold it together, who can be consistent. I think consistency is a huge key in these big races, and consistency and being fast is the ultimate winner in the end.
And a lot of these drivers coming off relatively fresh from the end of Season 4 of the Alliance Sim Racing Supercar Series, and we see a whole lot of familiar names getting ready to set the front end of the grid. Scott Gamble from Evolution Racing will be up there with Wayne Walker from Accelerate. Jamie Dyke will be right there behind them on row 2 alongside Matt Vanderkraan, the Season 3 champion, who you'd have to say almost had Season 4 stolen away from him by the illness that kept him out of the last round, and guaranteed that he couldn't hold on to the lead right to the end. But he'll be certainly looking to make amends there. The other thing to call out, of course, round 1 at Phillip Island, Matt Vanderkraan had an absolute cracker of an event, and the drive that he put on there with Mr. Rankin himself, I'm sure is out there listening somewhere. It was an absolute masterclass of strategy, and had it not been for the late incident that took them off track, who knows what might have happened there. But in the end, the win for the first round going to Vargs, and yeah, we'll see what happens here today. There's a long way to go, and certainly a lot of distance between our starting point and our finishing today. Drivers are just out on track at the moment, setting the grid, getting ready to get underway. A question in the chat from Mr. Diamond, hoping there's not a time certain at 5 p.m. No, there is not. I can assure you that we will see the full 161 laps, the full 500 kilometers of racing, no matter how many safety cars we get today. I certainly hope we don't get too many. It's never good fun driving a track like Sandown at 80k an hour behind a safety car. It's just not the same, after all. But we'll see if the 24/7 sim service, the safety car, does play a part today. And of course, those guys doing their best in race control to keep everything flowing nicely. As always, our major support partners here today, AO West Automotive and Quantum Tin Solutions, making it all possible, along with Tim Nickel Photography. And always good to have sponsors on board to make sure these events can run smoothly and have some decent coverage and decent race control going on as well, so that you can all be watching along at home. We'd love to hear in the chat from you. If you've got another driver on track that you want us to keep an eye on today, then by all means give us a shout. And of course, as always, a massive shout out to car number 24, Ugangatangus Racing. They still, despite my pleading last time, haven't changed their name. So Lucas, you and I can struggle with that one today, mate.
Can you repeat it again for me, please?
Ugangatangus Racing.
Ugangatangus Racing. All right.
I think we've got it. I think we've got it down. I think we'll be okay. But I'll tell you what, easily the least enjoyable name to try and wrap your tongue around when you're trying to call a race. So we'll see how it goes. Right now, though, we'll have to wait and see if they do feature enough today that we're calling that name out too much. But it is unmistakable in our timing screen. The front end of the grid really made up of Evolution Racing. P1 on the grid as well as P6 with Dan Hall behind the wheel to get this one started. It's going to be interesting to see just how they finish up. A bit of support there. BG's back again. Good to see you, mate. Team AJR, of course, featuring in there. So Dean Logsdale, who had some really serious speed, particularly into the back end of the regular season, starting in P5 today. So he's put himself in a good position to kick this one off with his teammate today, of course, being... trying to remember who's in the car with him. Car 462. Dean is driving with, I want to say Luke Orman today, if memory serves. No, sorry. Dan, this is going to get confusing for me, Lucas. Dean's driving with Luke Orman today. Of course, the Logger and Allman team, but Daniel Hall and Chad Lewis putting it on in the Fire Up CN Dock Shop fans. Jackson Dial, I don't even know where to start with that one, mate. But welcome along to the coverage. I don't know about you, Lucas. This is always that tense moment for these drivers, right? You're getting the grid set, you're getting ready to go for 500k of racing. It is going to be, it's going to be a lot.
It is. It's going to be interesting to see how the first few laps unfold. The biggest thing from my experience is just clearing your head, getting in that mindset, and the sooner you can get into a nice flow, I find the better. This is going to be close and hard racing. This kind of track are one of my favorites with the long straights and hard braking zones. It's going to put people on the edge as well. So it's going to be good to see how it all unfolds.
Absolutely. We've got some others. Scott in the 888 checking into the chat there with Nat. Good to see you along. Hopefully we can get a bit of coverage for everybody today. We'd like to make sure we try and check in on everyone throughout the race and don't just spend our time looking at P1 and P2, because there's always battles going on right throughout this field. And that is one of the best things about Alliance Sim Racing, is it's such a diverse field in terms of skill set. You don't end up with just those couple of drivers out in front battling. You get battles right throughout the field. And of course, that's what keeps us entertained right throughout it. That is a good question, actually, from Maddie. Scotty Perrins, when are you getting back into racing, mate? When's that happening? It's been too long, my friend, since I got to turn the camera on you. We'll keep an eye on that, though. Hopefully back maybe for season 5, hey? Never know. We've got a little while left to go here, guys. We're going to go to a very quick word from our sponsor while the last of the drivers are setting their grid, and we'll be back for the start of this Sandown 500. Don't go anywhere. Alright folks, we're waiting on the last couple of drivers to get set for the grid, and we'll be able to run you through how everyone is lining up for the opening stint here of this Sandown 500. Now Lucas, before we get underway, mate, you're obviously a reasonably accomplished driver yourself. Generally the GT series though is what I've seen you racing in over time. Have you had much of a play with the Gen 3 Supercars yet?
To be honest, I've never tried it. I don't own it to try. It is something that I might look into in the future. I did have one of the old supercars back in the day. I can't remember which the first ones that they released on iRacing. But aside from that, I haven't had any supercar experience for quite a while. Most of my racing is in GT racing and accomplished, I would put in quotes. Thank you. No, I've really enjoyed it. I've been playing on and off iRacing since 2010. So but most of that racing has been in GTs in the latter half of that time. But yeah, I usually stick more recently to endurance racing and team events, which I find the most fun and most rewarding.
Yeah, it's a good way to go, isn't it? It also does relieve a bit of pressure from those longer events. If you're trying to do them yourself, it's challenging to say the least. Hey, there we go. Hey, Scott Perrins just chipping in, hopefully before the end of next season. All right, so we might see a few little cameos through season 5. That's what I'm holding you to now, Scotty. Good to hear. Mitchell Steele Allison checks into the chat. Uganga Tangus Racing. Mate, it's taken me, I reckon, 4 or 5 races of seeing your team name pop up before I've managed to wrap my tongue around it. Do me a favour, just stay out of the doldrums today. Stay out of the mess, so I don't have to call it out too often. I'd appreciate that if you could do that for me, Mitchell. Not so much to ask. Lucas Baker checking in as well. Good to see you here, Lucas. And of course, Brad Hayes joining us as well. Back in the Accelerate Endurance 351 team, Mick Clifton behind the wheel at the moment as the drivers are heading out for just a few minutes of warm-up, just to remind themselves of what the track is like. And of course, beautiful conditions today in Springvale for us, Lucas. 18 degrees, 33 degree track temperature. You couldn't ask for better, could you?
I was actually just about to comment on the weather. Yeah, it's perfect conditions. It's going to be grippy and doesn't look like there's anything to worry about over the next few hours. So bring it on.
Bring it on, absolutely. The thing to watch here, of course, the marble build-up on the outside of some of these corners is what's going to catch you out. At the best of times, a Gen 3 supercar really is like driving on ice if you're not careful with the throttle. You get it out into those marbles and you can say goodbye to any sort of grip that's floating around. So it will be one that the drivers have to watch. As you can see, just in the bottom left of picture, a couple of drivers just getting out onto that start line to practice their launches And that'll be crucial. A good start here can easily gain you 3, 4, 5 places. We've seen as many as sort of 8 or 9 places off the start line if you really do nail that launch. It's such a tough car to get moving. Honestly, it's been probably a little bit too long between drives for me as well, I'll be honest. I've tried desperately to match the pace of some of the drivers that you've seen in the Elite Sim Racing series over time. And something that I will gladly admit is that I'm nowhere near the capability of these guys. I think the closest I've managed to get to sort of the average lap time is probably a good 6 or 7 seconds back at some tracks, and at others it's certainly much more. The sort of the dedication that it takes to really master a Gen 3 supercar, you're going to see that on show here today, because you're just going to have a field of drivers that will be absolutely pushing the limits of the Gen 3 supercars in terms of grip, in terms of endurance. The real question is, what are we going to see in terms of strategy? There's always the option, of course, to go all out and just push from start to finish, but fuel saving is where you might just find that the undercutter overcut is strongest here in the Gen 3 supercars, and it's certainly something we've seen used to effect in other races with this crew. I don't know that we're going to see a lot of it initially today, but 500 Ks is right about that sweet spot where you've got to make a decision pretty early on fuel saving, right?
Also, this type of track does lend to it as well. With the hard braking zones and the long straights, you can save quite a lot and without losing too much time, keeping it smooth. So if it does come into play, I think it will benefit a few that will go for that strategy.
One can only hope, and we'll get a bit of a feel for what that strategy is as we see the first round of pit stops start to roll through. BG, it takes 20 seconds to change driver. Look, I'm actually not convinced anymore, honestly. I was under the impression it was a 30-second change of drivers, but then in testing for the Nürburgring 24-hour, we were finding, I think it was only 15 seconds, wasn't it, Lucas?
15, yeah. So at least, yeah, in the GT series, 15 seconds is what it's been for a little while. I honestly don't know if it changes between different series of team driver swaps. So
yeah, I'm not convinced that there's any rhyme or reason to it. I think it's just a random number chosen for each car or something. But look, I think it'll be very, very unlikely that we'll see a driver change holding up the changeover. It is quick though. Look, at the very worst, it'll be 30 seconds for a driver change, and you'll be taking on plenty more time than that in just your fueling on those pit stops. So I'm hoping that doesn't play the part, and I'm certainly hoping these guys don't replicate our little pit stop incident, Lucas. Entirely my fault, and one worth sharing with the people, I think.
It's a double-edged sword. It was my fault.
No, I will give this as a warning to all the drivers out there. You might think you're doing the right thing by adjusting your INI files to automatically untick all of the tires and fuel. But I tell you what, when you're 6 hours into a 24-hour race, you come in for your first changeover and nobody kind of realizes that you haven't got the fuel box ticked. It's not a lot of fun driving back out with only 5 liters in the tank. So not the best way to go. I'm sure these guys have got it under control though.
Yeah, all you can do in these situations is learn from it. It was a big lesson learned from me. I'm just always assuming the fuel boxes are ticked. I did tick the tires, but that was it. So
such is life.
Now we've got the grid coming up here.
Let's get the grid. So this is how it looks for the start of this Sandown 500. Scott Gamble and Logan Barnett on the front row ahead of Jake Slade and Phil Manuel. Then Kurt Nommensen and Caofillo on row number 3. Sam Blacklock and Will Buchanan will line up on row 4 ahead of Brendan Zatera and Keenan Sykes. Then Rick Kuznetsov and Tim Nicol, the ASR safety car, coming up there for some reason. There's a bit of an odd one. I'm hoping that'll sort of get sorted for us. I'm actually pretty convinced that this gridding is all out of whack this afternoon. So we might clear that, and we'll just go for a bit of a run down our tower here. Scott Gamble and Wayne Walker up front, David Coleman and Matt Vanderkraan behind them, then Dean Logsdale and Dan Hall, Logan Barnett and Stephen Varga ahead of Simon Heddershed and Jake Slade, Troy Sipple and Michael Whiting behind them, then Mick Clifton and Damon Fisher, Phil Manuel and Kurt Nommensen in 15th and 16th, Rick Vergar and Scott Weston behind them, Simon Haynes and Caofillo behind that, rounding out your 20. Then Sam Blacklock and Mitchell Steele-Allison ahead of Will Buchanan and Andrew Johnston. Brendan Zatera and Kai Ardley further back, with Rick Kuznetsov lining up at car number 27. We will get set to go racing here, folks. I hope you're strapped in. Luke Orman, you're on the money, mate. It is not the way the grid is supposed to look, that's for sure. But we'll wait and see how this all plays out. The last of the drivers starting to make their way to the grid now. Just waiting on a couple more cars to jump on in. They've got a minute or two here just to make those last minute real world pit stops before they set off on this first stint. And look, I expect at this stage that we'll probably see Scott Gamble and Wayne Walker set the pace very early on here.
Yep, it's going to be interesting to see now how it all unfolds. What's going through the drivers now, through their minds, getting all the IRL stuff out of the way so there's no interruptions. They can just sit and focus and clear their minds. The grid continues to grid up. 1 at 161. This is going to be good. I can't wait to see this.
Just going to make some quick changes in the background here, folks. I think we've figured out the issue with both our timing towers and our grids, so we'll get that sorted and have it ready to go as we wait now for the last drivers to jump onto the grid and get set to go racing here for the Sandown 500. It's been a little while between races of this length, but I know all the drivers are putting in plenty of practice laps, and so now we'll just have to wait and see what we get. The lights come up as we wait on starters. All's green flag being waved at the back of the field. And we are away. The Sandown 500 underway. The ASR Endurance Championship kicks off for round number 2. And immediately Wayne Walker and Scott Gamble getting into it. A fantastic start from Walker off the line. Turn 1 though, and then straight away Walker sideways and big collisions there. That looks like Matt Vanderkraan off into the grass on the right hand side. And all of a sudden David Coleman, surviving a lap, finds himself out in front. Not at all what all of those drivers would have been hoping for, I'm sure, to make our way down the back straight for the very first time. See BG Ray just taking the opportunity to have a little bit of a dig at Team Redline, perhaps starting on wets to gain a bit of a ride height advantage.
Yep.
No, none of that seen here. I do actually happen to have the tyre compound still up on our telemetry, and I can confirm that all drivers started on dries, at least as far as I can tell. What a schmozzle that was. David Coleman getting the best start he could have hoped for. Scott Gamble still there right behind him, but Dan Hall and Logan Barnett from Evolution and 9.5 in third and fourth. A big moment there, Scott Gamble.
And turned around.
He's going to try and get it underway again, but that's going to cost him a lot of positions. Down the order he tumbles, now back into 13th. Thankfully 158 odd more laps to get up and running, and not the ideal start for the front row qualifier there, Lucas.
Hopefully he hasn't sustained any substantial damage from that. It just seemed like a bit of a nose turning around. Oh no!
Having trouble with the tyres, it would seem. Look, it does take a little while to get them up to 10, and of course, you know, these cars don't have a lot of grip at the best of times. And Sandown,
it was almost a mirror of what happened towards the end of the first lap. It seems like he's back on it. We'll see if he has the
hang in there.
Yep.
Meanwhile, up the front, David Coleman, what a start for Fishy Motorsports.
He has a substantial lead.
Yeah, already out to almost 2 seconds, which
it's not. Yeah,
look, it's not saying a lot, obviously, this early into a race like a Sandown 500, but look at the gap that he's already opening up. Coleman looking to just make as best of this he can. It's at the 108.7, so he is absolutely flying out in this clean air. Plenty of battles going on further back through the pack here, though. Rick Vigar has Connor Nixon right in behind, as well as Mitchell Steele-Allison in the Liquid Death labelled entry of Gangsters Racing, and Vigar off to the side. Contact there with Connor Nixon from Orbit Drop there. Both of them managed to keep going. This is a very busy opening few laps as the drivers just try to settle into a rhythm. Somehow we've avoided a safety car so far, Lucas. I don't know how.
Yep. That was a very ambitious move. Somehow made it stick just. Big lockup. No cars got turned around, thankfully, and everyone's still facing the right direction. Yeah, a very action-packed opening couple of laps.
Yeah, certainly a lot more going on than I was expecting. As noted in the chat there, Lucas Baker, Dean Logsdale got caught up in that very, very early. Let's go back and we'll take a quick look, see if we can see just what happened. But he got caught up in some of the very, very early mess and just gets turned, ultimately. Thankfully, not much damage sustained, so up and running, but finds himself a long way down the field as a result. But nevertheless, plenty of time to make all of that up. We've got a few battle packs starting to form already as the drivers start to just space themselves out a little here. Troy Sipple, probably one of his best starts in a while, up 5 positions already into P6. He'll be cheering at the moment because that is a phenomenal start for the number 17 Quantum Racing entry. And then, of course, you've got a pack just a little further ahead with Dan Hall, Logan Barnett, Wayne Walker's in there as well. So he's managed to hang in there despite that initial bump at the start of this race. And
this trio here is going to be interesting to watch. They have been pretty tight since the race started. This is the kind of the time of the race where you want to settle in as well. You want to get into a bit of a rhythm. Also find out how your opponents are driving around you. Pick up some habits where you can make a move, where you can lay off and just settle in. It's going to be interesting next few laps to see how this unfolds.
And just taking a look right back to the start for you, Lucas Baker, it looks like Logsdale might have actually been, and we'll check this out, but it looks like Logsdale actually got caught up with Vanderkraan early on. So there you go, that was Dean Logsdale and Vanderkraan getting speared off after turning one on lap 1, and that's really hurt Logsdale's pace. You can see the damage to the front left of that Mustang is very evident. He's going to be carrying that for a while because it's not going to be enough to justify a pit stop, but that is certainly going to be slowing.
Definitely have some steering damage from that as well. Just have to put up with it, hopefully, until the first stop. See if we can hang in there.
And look, we're not expecting stops until probably about, I would guess, barring a safety car, I don't think we're going to see stops until about 30, 40 laps in.
Yeah, and this is why I was trying to allude to, you just want to settle in and find a rhythm at this point now and get used to the track conditions. Most people have, this track here is extremely racy, obviously, as you want to be, but I think most people have explored the limits of their opening high temperatures and late brakes and all that kind of thing.
And as always, the Gen 3 Supercars, the best laps you'll get out of them are those first 2 or 3 laps. That's about the best you can expect from these tyres. They'll start to fall off. You'll get a little bit of a second wind, probably a track like Sandown, probably around, you'd think somewhere in the region of lap 8 or 10, you'll start to get a little bit back into them, and then you'll just settle in and end up with about 20 laps, maybe 30 out of them if you're really pushing. So that is it's a long stretch though.
And that was a beautiful awesome T1 as well from the Revolution car, and has very quickly gained some time ahead of the pack and is pulling away nicely from Nixon.
As we continue to just try and fix up a little bit of the grid order, I'm noting a couple of drivers that we didn't actually have showing on our tower, so that should be sorted for you now, folks. Apologies. Fast repairs is always the question. From memory, I think they've only got the one up their sleeve, but I will make a quick check of that in the background just to confirm for you. They're not getting much to play with ultimately. Two. with apologies, folks. A brief interruption there, but we seem to be back up and running. Look, much happier for that to happen in the early parts of the coverage. Would much rather that happening in the opening laps than say, 2 laps from the end or something like that. I don't think I've tripped over any cords here though, Brett. I suspect it's a little more NBN related than it is anything on my end, but it is what it is.
Problems, eh?
Oh look, this is the thing, right? One of the things that we just can't get around with sim racing compared to real racing. It's not often that you just lose all the cars on the track in the real world, is it?
That's
it
right.
Doesn't tend to happen. Let's bring up to speed with what's happened in the last little while. David Coleman's still out in front and has extended his lead fairly significantly, almost 4 seconds ahead of this chasing pack. Dan Hall from Evolution Racing Team heads up the battle for second with Logan Barnett, Wayne Walker and Jake Slade. Hot pursuit. You can just see David Coleman starting to creep away in the corner there. So look, it's going to be interesting to see what Coleman does. He's got a lot of pace. He knows this track well, and looking to open up as much of a gap as he can. It's a very hard push he's going for so early in such a long race, though, Lucas, with the ever-present threat of a safety car undoing all of this work. I'm kind of wondering if it's the right approach or not.
Yeah, he's definitely hot on the lap times. It seems like everyone is kind of settling a little bit now, however. A lot of mid-109s coming through over the line in the few cars ahead. Yeah, I think the lead is, as long as he's in control and feels like the tyres are still with him, I think it will be okay. It seems like everything has settled down now.
Especially as we get up the inside of Clifton in turn 1. That's going to be key today, isn't it, Lucas? Like
we have a blind engine in the
blind
background.
motor in the background. Would you believe it? That's your Gangatangus Racing.
No, oh no.
That's not what I had in mind for you, Mitchell. When I suggested that you don't make me say that name too often. That'll be a fast repair though, and they'll be back on track in no time. I'm sure they'll just be waiting for the tow from race control. Those downshifts in these Gen 3 supercars, they are absolutely famous for popping motors. We've seen it more than once throughout the regular season with ASR, and unfortunately another victim of exactly that bit of over rev with the extra we have a safety car coming
as well. Yeah, we've got a few pit stops happening. I peeled off from the group behind the leader.
Let's keep an eye on this. The safety car is primed, so we might be seeing James Hardy out on track in that 24/7 Sim Service safety car in just a moment, and it does look like...
Yeah, everyone's coming in.
There it is. So safety car has been confirmed by race control, and this will be where those first pit stops come in. Now that's early. That's early. 12 laps.
That's very early.
So all these drivers will come in. They'll get pitted. They'll get themselves some extra fuel on board, but that's gonna really significantly change the landscape of this race, because that's really, at best, that's half what they would have hoped for in that first stint. That's probably not enough to tip it upside down for anyone, but they'll be rethinking the strategy from here on, Lucas.
That's right. And then we've got the leaders coming in, do their stops as well. So, like you were just saying a few moments ago, that gap will now amount to not much on the restart, but we're going to see how this unfolds once the restart begins. See if they can pull off another gap. We're going to see also where they come out. Like you said, this is going to shuffle the order completely as well, due to the timing of the safety car and where the leaders were.
Yeah, it won't have been on anyone's plan, I think, for such an early safety car. But again, it's one of those great unknowns when it comes to endurance races. It's what you'll have creeping in. It's just some upset to your plan, and
Yep.
having to rethink strategy a little bit. Right now, though, Jake Slade has got prime position at the moment, but the first of the drivers out from those pit stops, David Coleman, you can see in the background there, the fishy Castrol livery. And I suspect he'll be pretty well placed. Only down a little from that lead position after taking the pit stop.
Yep, and Owen Barnett, who in the group behind him, is trailing in 9th and 10th at the moment as well. Well, this is going to certainly change things up again. It's going to be interesting to see how... trying to find the right words. Basically, the start of the race, obviously everyone was... not everyone, most people were quite hot and ambitious and made some nice moves. However, is everyone going to still be in that frame of mind on the restart, or is it going to be a little bit more toned down and everyone just want to kind of get on with the race and get some positions back without too much risk?
Yeah, the real question will be for Mitchell Steele-Alston, the new Gangatingas team, where do they find themselves and can they get themselves back into this after that engine? That's not what he would have hoped for so early on. Question from Simeon in the chat: has Phil Manuel in the 82 got damaged? Look, we didn't see any issues that popped up on our telemetry, so he has picked some up. It's going to have been from a fairly minor impact. Has come in and made that pit stop in a reasonable sort of time, so it doesn't look like he's actually had too much in the way of damage that's kept him there, or he's used the fast repair for it at the very least. But yeah, has ended up back in 23rd at this stage. Has had the pit stop done. An interesting one though, Scott Gamble's in the pits. Now I'm not sure why he's come in for a second one there, whether there's some damage he's looking to get repaired, or have they just missed it the first time around, not put enough fuel in, or something similar. It's actually a fairly long pit stop going on for Gamble as well. 20.9 in the box. That 20 seconds, that almost looks like it might have been a pit lane penalty or something like that.
Yeah, potentially. I couldn't see anything on our screens of any penalty or black flags or anything like that.
Yeah, very unusual, that particular one, but hopefully they can recover from there, because that leaves Gamble all the way down in 24th. He has had a horror start to this Sandown 500 for the Evolution Racing team entry. Still, though, better for it to happen in the first 20 laps than, towards the back end of such a long race, Lucas.
Yeah, you want to get these kind of issues out of the way early and try and just make the most of the long amount of time that's left. We're only 14 laps in, with the restart recommended to be happening very soon. But yeah, you don't want this stuff happening towards the end. You want all these shoes and niggly bits all out the way early, and you just want to get on with your race.
I mean, ideally, of course, you don't have it happen at all, but if it's going to happen, you want it in the first stint. That's where you want to get it all out of there.
Yeah.
Van der Kraan, just keep an eye on him at the moment in 6th, so he's managed to avoid most of the drama after that turn 1 excursion off-road. Finds himself sitting in P6, hasn't had the pit stop though, so he's elected to just take this as a bit of fuel saving. He's going to try and just ride this out. The problem, of course, will be all these drivers around him that have taken the stop. David Coleman right behind him, Dan Hall a couple of spots back. They're going to be running on full tanks, so even with the fuel saving that Van der Kraan's going to be getting under safety car, he's probably got maybe 10, maybe 15 laps left in it. Scott Gamble's in again. I'm thoroughly confused by this, Lucas. I don't know what's happening for ERT back there, but he's back into the pits again for a third time. Now either he's... I'm lost for words. I don't know what's happened.
10 second pit.
It just doesn't make sense to me at all. I can't wrap my head around it.
Now I've got a notification that he's crashed. Is that accurate?
Likely he's just gone very, very slowly on the exit. Our telemetry does tend to pick people up as crashing if they're just at a super low pace.
Yeah, another 10-second pit stop.
I mean, wouldn't even be a fast repair, would it?
I mean, it could be the fact he's elected to do something since he's towards the back anyway, and is not going to really lose anything out of it. Not sure what it would be exactly though.
If anyone in the chat's got a bit of a line to the Evolution Racing Team chat channel, if you do want to give us a bit of an update, we'd love to know what has happened to Scott Gamble. What's caused this triple pit stop across 3 laps? I mean, the only positive that can be said for it is that it hasn't cost him any more positions at the moment, because he's under safety car.
Yep.
The safety car is coming in on this lap.
Everyone's together, and there's 2 cars that are trailing that will be a little ways off, but everyone else is ready to go.
Jack Slade has control of the field, the Revolution Racing entry out in front. And we are under green flag conditions once again. They make their way down the straight here at Sandown International Raceway. Slade got a very, very nice jump on Heddershode in the Fully Served United entry. The orange and black right behind him. Rick Kuznetsov, though, look, hasn't had his pit stop, sure, but he's up 24 positions right now.
Wow.
Could not ask for better in terms of that safety car playing out for him. Finds himself up in 3rd for the moment, but the one to watch right now, David Coleman just lurking in the background. Hayden Cupid, g'day mate, hope you're doing well. It's very, very odd. You can see Coleman just trying to get some heat back into the tyres. He was on such a flyer up until this safety car.
Yeah, he had about a 5-second lead, didn't he, roughly, before that happened?
Hayden Cupid, the ERT car now has 3 laps more fuel than everyone else because they pitted every lap. Look, technically accurate. I'm not sure that was the strategy, but technically accurate. I can't argue with you, mate. That is potentially what's going on. But I can't even come up with an explanation for it. Heddershode and Kuznetsov going very close. Kuznetsov is looking to the inside in turn 1, heavy under brakes. He's going to get there, sticks the nose in, just avoiding contact. A bit of barging.
Ooh.
It's what you see in these Gen 3 supercars, a lot of panel rubbing. But Kuznetsov gets through.
Up and fair move, that was good.
Yeah, very, very aggressive so early in the race. And it's fought for positions here as well, with Brendan Zatera just getting pushed to the outside, Dan Hall and Logan Barnett getting through. Yeah. And watch behind, because here comes Wayne Walker. And he's looking to just steal a little bit of pace away there, just a little bit of side drafting going on. Push a bit of air up over that rear wing and slow him down the straight. He's on the inside as we come to the fast chicanes at the back end of Sandown. Forces himself up the inside. He's going to have plenty of room there, just crosses that yellow line ever so slightly and gets it done. Wayne Walker will be looking to charge back to the front as quickly as he can.
That was nice car placement.
That's all we can do here at Sandown, isn't it? There's only those couple of opportunities where you can get those passes done under brakes, and of course, the Gen 3 supercars low on aero, so of course low on slipstream. As a result, you've really got to get it done under braking. Kuznetsov sets a new fastest lap, 108.68.
They're running with the lower fuel load, and keeping in position, which is good. We've also got, if I'm not mistaken, Hall, Barnett and Walker, who are in the pack behind Coleman before the safety car, slowly making gains towards the front end of the field as well.
Bit of a gap starting to open up there now. David Coleman just pulling away from Dan Hall. Jamie Dyke in the chat. Good to see you, mate. Don't know why the cars ahead didn't pit. Look, it's a great question. It really is. I'm looking at, we've got 7 cars in the top 11 that haven't made a pit stop under that long safety car. Jake Slade out in front, Kuznetsov and Heddershode haven't pitted. Damon Fisher from Team AJR is up in 4th, but didn't take advantage of that safety car to pit. Neither did Will Buchanan or Matt Vanderkraan. And Brendan Zatera back in 11th, also yet to make a pit stop. Good question. Absolutely. Troy Sippel in the Quantum Racing entry, just in behind Zatera at the moment, holding 12th. Only down 1 position from where he started after that pit stop, so he'll be looking to pick some up. Scott Gamble's in again.
What is happening?
A drive-through penalty for car 543, just coming through from race control for an incident on lap 1. This is a horror run for the Evolution Racing Team entry. they've got so much work to do. 140 laps to get it done, but geez, I'm at an absolute loss for just the number of visits to the pit lane.
This is the fourth?
That's the fourth.
Stop? Yeah.
That's the fourth entry into pit lane for ERT. And that's the first one, I think, if I recall correctly, that we've seen a drive-through. There might have been a quick stop and hold there somewhere, but I'm thoroughly confused, Lucas.
Yeah, I am too. I can't see any timing for being in the actual pit box itself. So, 20 seconds through the pit lane.
Have a look at the pace that Kuznetsov has right now. Barnett's just set the new fastest lap at 108.5, but basically bang on with Kuznetsov, who is absolutely charging behind Jake Slade in the Revolution iRacing entry. He's going to look for a move here at the back of the straight. Looks for the drive out of Pertec corner. And he's tucked in right behind.
It's interesting to follow this because they're both, lighter on fuel, no stops, very close on lap times. I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, it certainly looks that way for how quickly he's caught up here. Got a 5-second penalty for car number 27, which is Connor Nixon in the Orbit Drop Pit Motorsports entry. So it won't be serving anything, but a 5-second time penalty added at the end. Right now sitting down in 17th, so not likely to have a particularly significant impact on the front end of the race at this point. But of course, long way to go. Anything can happen. The two leaders on screen right now, Slade and Kuznetsov, Revolution iRacing and 9.5 SimSport respectively, are starting to really open up that gap to Hederscheid, out to just over 3 seconds now. And then just a huge number of cars coming through behind Simon Hederscheid. He's going to be feeling the pressure at this stage. Damon Fisher will be right behind him. And then, of course, Will Buchanan from Revolution iRacing. Matt Vanderkraan's there in 6th with David Coleman, the first of the drivers who has made that first pit stop.
We mentioned to see this, looks like all the guys that have stopped, at the front end of that pack, lapping in the 108s, 108.5 to 108.7s. Everyone else at the front, in front of them, I should say, are in the very low 109s, so they're going to continue catching. And the two at the front are just kind of going toe-to-toe and continue building that gap. It's another half second since we last mentioned it already. 3.5 seconds now.
Just keeps growing, doesn't it? Slade and Kuznetsov. We spoke earlier about the drivers that we hadn't seen much of. As Kuznetsov sends it up the inside into turn 1. We saw him do it last lap to Hederscheid, or a couple of laps back rather. He's just done it again. Now let's see if he's got a bit more pace, and Slade is already starting to open it up out to almost half a second in just a matter of a couple of corners. Kuznetsov is flying for 9.5 SimSport. This is exactly what I was referring to when we said at the start of the broadcast. We've got a number of drivers who we haven't seen in this pack before who could change the game entirely. I was expecting for us to be watching, the likes of David Coleman, the likes of Matt Vanderkraan, that we're used to seeing Wayne Walker as well, of course. And they're not out of it by any means, but the pace out here in front is absolutely blistering. These drivers still staying just outside of the 108, where everyone else is very much mid 109s, even stretching towards 110s at this point. These guys are going sprint pace, Lucas.
They are, and I've just also noticed as well, Barnett is matching the pace of the front runners as well.
9.5 SimSport making their name known.
Yeah, I think these guys at the front, Slade and Rick, they're going to have, I think they're just making the most of the position that they're in, where they're electing not to pit initially. Doesn't seem like they're holding each other up anymore. I mean, Rick's starting to pull away. He's already got a second gap, but Slade's also
hold the
got
flag.
a nice gap behind. So
hold the phone, hold the flag. Jamie Dyke noticing this at the same time I did in the iRacing feed. 888 Rick Kuznetsov just being issued a drive-through by Race Control. I'm sure we'll get an update on the reason for that coming through from Race Control, but he's going to have to serve a drive-through. The incident with car 543 on lap 7. So there must have been something that's happened with Scott Gamble and Rick Kuznetsov, and that has resulted in Kuznetsov receiving a drive-through here. Now, at this stage, given the gap they've opened up of almost 4 seconds, that's going to land him with about 20 seconds for a drive-through. Well, he'll be landing back in about 22nd, 23rd at this point. But you can see already he's starting to try and stretch that gap even further from this following pack. And have a look at the pack here. Everyone just queuing up behind Heddershide in third.
Yeah, this is what I was mentioning earlier. The guys that had pitted, that were in front of the field prior, have all now caught up, and it's going to be some good racing here. You got the guys that are still on lower fuel loads, and getting caught up by the original front runners of the race. We'll see how this unfolds now over the next few laps.
It's going to be really interesting to watch. Heddershide, Fisher and Buchanan have not made their pit stops. Neither has Vanderkram, the Angry Birds racing entry, just in the second part of this pack. But David Coleman, although he's made his pit stop, was very, very fast early on. I don't think he's not going to be quick enough at this point that it's worth him trying to overtake Vanderkram. He's probably just going to sit in here and enjoy a little bit of a tow, maybe even consider it a little bit of fuel saving at the moment as Kuznetsov goes in for his drive-through. So watch him drop down that timing tower as these cars come through. It will be a question of where he gets back on track. Yep. See him just passing him now in the pit lane. About 20 seconds, give or take, end to end for that drive-through. BG making a good call. Did the ERT car make a drive-through under safety car? Not that I saw, and I didn't see a black flag being called by race control, but it is possible that we've missed that as well. It's still very, very odd to see a car come in 3 times on 3 consecutive laps. It's bizarre.
We've got 2 big packs here. This is the first pack we're mentioning.
Really.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's kind of come together now, and then we've got a big gap in the middle, 7-second gap, then another big group behind. And Slade's in a good position now. He can take advantage of having no one right behind him.
This is the battle for second now, isn't it? Because of course,
yep.
We've seen the drive-through there for Rick Kuznetsov, who now finds himself down in 13th. But he's dropped into this pack here. And this is effectively the battle for 10th behind Troy Sipple. He's got Zatera, he's got Stephen Varga from Quantum Peck is in there as well. Rick Kuznetsov's in this pack along with Whiting. Nixon from Orbit Drop Bear Motorsports is in there. I've got to say, we'll just as a complete aside for the moment, the Orbit Drop Bear Motorsport livery is one of my favourite that I've seen anywhere for the Gen 3 Supercars. The Revolution Race Gear livery, I remember seeing it unveiled on Facebook a few months back, and it is absolutely bloody stunning.
Nice. Yeah, I agree.
Oh,
We're also got an update in the chat.
The update, yeah, I've just seen it there in the chat from Ukanga Tangas Racing. You made me say it again, Mitchell. Thank you. They had fast repair ticked, but the game hasn't recognised it, and so they've got 20 minutes of required repairs. So it's used up the fast repair, but didn't actually repair the motor. That is interesting to say the least. It's heartbreaking for Ukanga Tangas. That's going to really affect their ability to get back into this race.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate.
Look, there were a few hiccups, weren't there, with servers over the Nürburgring 24-hour weekend. A few races impacted by iRacing server issues. I wonder if it's related or if it's just, look, your guess is as good as mine.
Unfortunate part of sim racing bugs and issues.
It's such an odd one to have though, isn't it? Like you'd think it at least wouldn't use the fast repair.
Yeah, it's something that shouldn't even be a question, to be honest. But hopefully the team keep their head up and get back into the race once they get the repairs done.
Take a look at the gap that Jake Slade's opening up out front, 6 seconds now. Very, very comfortable. He's just going to be running these tyres down until he runs out of fuel, and he'll bring it on in and see where he lands. I think the question will be, where's David Coleman after all of that?
Yep, and also Slade's running very quick, obviously making that gap. So low 901, everyone else behind him are all in the 110s. So taking full advantage of the race pace up. Yep, 100%. That's what he needs to do as well while he's in this position and has the track position. And obviously he'll have to come in earlier, pit and fuel up, change tyres. And then he goes another 109.6 over the line. Yeah, he's flying.
Heddershide though, 109 5. So these guys have upped the pace here.
Yeah. So this group now is all, yeah, they're all on similar pace.
I see a pit for Dean Logsdale coming in for their second stop by the look of it. Here at lap 28. Now whether that's a planned stop for a driver change or something similar. It was only a fairly quick stop their first time around. They only spent about 11 seconds in their pit box on that first stop, so they haven't taken a huge amount of fuel. May have only taken fresh tyres, to be fair. Keep an eye on the Team AJR entry back there in 24th at the moment.
There's another update. 3 minutes till we see Liquid Death back on track.
Gangatangus Racing, they're ready. They're ready to get back on track. It's going to be a long battle for them to get back onto the back of this pack, though. At this stage, where are we? Aiden Sykes will be getting in the car, and they look like they are, 16 laps down. That is a horrific start to their day, and I can't see it getting drastically better from there, but I know they'll be giving it their absolute best.
Yep, thank you. Never know what can happen.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got a pack like this racing up front for second, it's not impossible, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone, although I can already hear all the teams out there yelling at me for even suggesting the hint of a commentator's curse here, but if these guys do get into a pile-up, that's going to be fairly significant as well. Surely not. Surely not.
It's been non-stop. Everyone has been half a second between each other.
Kai Ardley getting in amongst it here with Connor Nixon and Michael Whiting. Bit of side-by-side action through Perfect Corner as they make their way down the back straight once again. Troy Sippel still maintaining his position at the head of this field, although Kuznetsov and Walker have actually gotten through. They've gotten past Sippel. Stephen Varga is a few seconds back now from Sippel as well. So I'm not sure if there's been a bit of an issue that we've missed somewhere along the way. But it does look like Vargs has just managed to get through there on Zatera and is now looking to just track down Troy Sippel in the number 17 Quantum Racing entry. Zatera goes in to the pits, so that's one of the cars that haven't made their first pit stop. He's come in now, and sure enough, right about that 30 lap mark is what they're getting out of a full tank.
Just as you predicted.
It's not a bad guess. Yeah. One to watch, Rick Kuznetsov. Still hasn't come in for that pit stop. Still up 17 positions despite the drive-through. You've got to wonder how much he's got left in the tank before he needs to come in and make that stop.
Yep, so he's yet to pit, and the top 5 front runners yet to pit, and everyone else has at least pitted once.
Still plenty of racing in this. You'd have to think that we've only got about, call it 12 laps difference between those who haven't pitted and those who came in under the safety car. So we're going to see a lot of overlapping pit stops here the rest of this Sandown 500 with Alliance Sim Racing. I do wonder how much Kuznetsov is going to be thinking about, a bit of undercut overcut style approach. It's a little hard to set up when you've got such a difference in fuel. But does he start to think about fuel saving to just try and reduce the gap between each stop? There you go, Jamie McKnight, as always, the master of fuel setups, gets 51 laps for a full tank. I don't promise that my mental math is even remotely worthwhile on the best of my days, Jamie, so I will absolutely bow to your expertise on that one. Using more grass than a Bob Marley concert. I'm stealing that one, BG. I love it. There's certainly been a bit of that here, and you can see the tire marks on some of the infield as we take a look forward to Hendershot and Buchanan. Still in its battle for second. The gap to Jake Slade out in front, now out to 9 seconds. He is absolutely putting in the work to reduce the impact of his pit stop when he finally does roll around to it. And given Jay McKnight's much better math than mine, he's probably got another 20 laps of fuel in that tank. The question is, how much does the tyre have left in it? 30 laps is starting to really push the limits of the tyre, although I do look forward to Jamie correcting me on just what they are actually capable of here as well. It's got to be getting close to that sort of mark.
He's still lapping in the low 109, mid to low 109, so the pace is still there.
Connor Nixon taking a big look up the inside of Steve Varga. Contact there. Varga gets sideways. Then Nixon. This is going to cause some issues. They form a rolling roadblock. Not intentionally, of course, but very, very lucky. And that's Aiden Sykes. Ugangatangas Racing facing the wall.
Is it on the outlap?
Their day goes from bad to worse. Let's go back and take a look and see what's happened here. Over the grass.
Oh, no.
Gets it sideways and just pulls it up short of the wall.
No damage at least?
Yeah, thankfully the car's still in good condition, but certainly not what we would want to see for that team. And a big lock up there from Kai Ardley in the other Liquid Death entry. Bit of contact from Connor Nixon on the way through. He wants to have another crack at Stephen Varga by the look of things. Ardley's getting a little bit loose as he tries desperately to claw that position back. He manages to get back through on the inside of Nixon through that final chicane. I tell you what, not wrong at all. These guys are pushing very, very hard. This is a very different race to what we saw in round one. Far more aggressive driving, particularly with some of these entries that haven't been here before. And I tell you what, it is adding excitement for everybody watching at home. We love to see it. I just hope it does all, it does still stay in line and we don't end up with too much damage for any of these vehicles.
Yeah, this is great. This is the second pack we were talking about earlier too, so very, very close. Once again, everyone half a second within each other. The lunge causing all sorts of chaos to get everyone grouped back up again. But definitely entertaining, that's for sure.
And Nixon,
meanwhile,
what's he going to do? Is he about to look at sending it up the inside of Ardley again? Because there's a lot of rubbing of panels last lap.
Yeah.
You see him close it down through those high-speed chicanes. Ardley's going super defensive, taking that inside line.
Yeah, we kept that very tight, didn't he?
Here it is. Let's see what happens here. Ardley positions himself smack bang in the middle of the track. This is going to frustrate Nixon behind him. Let's see what happens as we come down the straight again. I'm just keeping an eye on the tower for a few close battles emerging between Vanderkraan and Coleman as well. But this is where the action is right now. Ardley and Nixon coming down the front straight to start lap 34. Can Ardley handle the pressure from Nixon here, or will he crack?
Oh, they seem they've kept it together in the opening part of the lap. Oh,
look at that. Millimetres between Ardley's car and Nixon's. We'll take a bit of a look back. This is the view that Kai Ardley is essentially facing in his rear view.
up the back straight.
Nixon, the Helicopter Motorsports entry is all over him. You can see he just closes the gap through here. Ardley just doesn't have the same sort of pace through that chicane. And immediately Nixon right on the rear end.
Almost a mirror of what happened the last lap. Let's see if what happens on the chicane exit here.
Oh, Nixon's so heavy on the braking to avoid contact, but at the same time wanting to stay in touch. Keep your eye on Michael Whiting from Fishy Motorsports in the background though. It's something I've seen more than once from Fishy in previous races. They'll be watching so closely for an opportunity to just claw back another position if it does go all a little sideways for Nixon, as he just tests the limits of that Mustang's grip. Ardley's doing an exceptional job, you got to say, of defensively driving this one here. And good shout out from Scotty Perrins in the chat. Team Quantum Racing, the Quantum Peckies entry of Stephen Varga. I'll have to make sure we do get that team name updated for you, Vargs, because it's been a little while. But, it is all going on. We'll check back in further up because Vanderkraan is still somehow managing to hold off David Coleman. Hasn't been any change really in the order of this pack, but their pace has still been up there. They're still in the 109s. Kuznetsov finally comes in. So 36 laps out of that first set of tyres is a massive effort, and yet still pushing those low 109s very, very quick.
Now we have a 10-second gap out the front as well. Meanwhile, this group has not. Yeah, the gap is half a second between every car. Look how close this is.
As we come back further, and again, taking a look at Nixon in P13, just stuck in the middle of this train. Can't get past Ardley in front, can't afford to let Whiting through from behind. And all the while, Stephen Varga controlling the pace from position 11. He'll be very, very comfortable out there. He's running, look, high 109s, 110s, so not quite the pace of the front end of the field.
I just answered Tokawash in the chat. Coleman, he's the first of the guys that have pitted. So everyone in front of him have yet to pit from where the safety car a few laps back, or a little while back actually now. So once the guys do pit, he's technically front of the pack.
We'll have to wait and see when these drivers start to come through. David Coleman finally getting past Vanderkrank, and Vanderkrank actually claw it back here. A little bit of contact, nothing much in it, but Coleman finally makes the move. As Vanderkrank goes very defensive, he's got Logan Barnett all over the back of him. A bit of a brake lock up behind from Dan Hall, or was it Wayne Walker? Just getting a little into it. And here we go down the back straight.
With the guys that are going to be, the tyres are going to be screaming now, surely. When their lap times are high 109s, the last few. However, Coleman has arrived and is on a charge.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? BG, is there live timing for this? There absolutely is. If you give me a moment, I will get you access and drop it in the chat.
Meanwhile, the gap at the front continues to increase up to 11 seconds now.
Jake Slade's doing a massive job out there in front. He's maintained, I think that's probably about the worst lap we've seen from him is a 109.5. His best a mid 108. Super, super consistent.
Yeah, making the most of the situation that was given to him, electing to stay out.
Now, what's happened to Connor Nixon? He was up here battling with Ardley. We'll go back and see if we can see just what's happened, because he's actually dropped like 3 spots in one hit just a moment ago. We'll go back and we'll take a look at what's happened here. Nixon getting very, very loose on the exit there. Manages to hold it together, but that's going to cost him a lot of position, a lot of time.
Yep.
Matty, can we call out current positions? We absolutely can. Let me run down the entire timing tower for you. So right now, as we make our way around to get towards the start of lap number 40 of 161, Jake Slade from Revolution eRacing currently sits P1, although hasn't made his pit stop yet. Simon Heddershade from Fully Served United in P2, again no pit stop yet. Will Buchanan from Revolution eRacing in 3rd, and Damon Fisher from Team AJR in 4th. Both of them yet to make their first pit stop. David Coleman, though, has made his first pit stop back on lap 12 under the safety car. He sits in 5th, currently ahead of Matt Vanderklaan from Angry Birds Racing, the last of the drivers yet to make a pit stop, in 6th. Logan Barnett from 95 Sim Sport in 7th, ahead of Dan Hall from Evolution Racing Team in 8th. Then Wayne Walker from Accelerate Sim Racing in 9th. Troy Sipple from Quantum Racing doing a great job in 10th. Kai Ardley in 11th, up 15 positions for the... Look at you, Gangatangers Racing. I would assume I need to check some of these team names that haven't actually been updated at this stage, I'm afraid. But I will just run a quick check. No, it's Full Throttle Bandits, I'm sorry, for Kai Ardley. Michael Whiting from Fishy Motorsports in 12th. Stephen Varga from Quantum Racing in 13th. Then Connor Nixon from Orbit Drop Bear Motorsports on your screen right now in 14th. Up 7 positions, but battling very, very hard as Wayne Walker comes in for what looks like a second pit stop now with some fresh tyres at lap number 40. We'll jump ahead because Damon Fisher and David Coleman getting into it here. We'll keep going down the tower though. Mick Clifton from Accelerate Sim Racing in 15th. Kurt Nommensen from Revolution eRacing in 16th. Simon Haynes from Quantum Racing in 17th. Then Rick Varga, Angry Birds Racing in 18th. Scott Weston, EWT Racing in 19th. Scott Gamble from Evolution Racing Team. A horror start for them, unfortunately, and no idea what's happened with the multiple pit stops. But they've done a few under safety car. They're into 19th now as Greg Favell starts to drop through the order with the driver change for Accelerate Sim Racing. Phil Manuel in 20th. Greg Favell now sitting in 21st. Brendan Zatera from Player One Race Team just getting past Favell now. Then Brody Sentence from 9.5. Dean Logsdale for Team AJR back in 24th. KF Philo in 25th. Andrew Johnston from Team AJR in 26th. And Aidan Sykes from Gangatangers in 27th. After blowing that motor up earlier. Not ideal. Jackson Dial suggested that Connor was too focused on the cheese toasty. Mate, you've got to stay both hydrated and fed in these long races, so you can't hold it against him like that.
Yeah, actually, I was going to mention Scotty Gamble has gone up quite a few positions despite what you said with all the pit stop issues earlier. Didn't lose too much in terms of track position coming out the back of the main pack. He's gone up, what, 5-6 positions. He was 18th for a little bit and went back down to 19th, but could be with all the stops going on.
He's definitely made a lot of positions back up. I still would love to know what on earth has happened to ERT to cause those 3 back-to-back pit stops in consecutive laps under the safety car. We're missing some part of the story here. I don't know. I just don't know what to make of it. Jackson Dial, bloke didn't even take his gloves off though. Is that not criminal? I assume, based purely on the standard of racing that we're seeing from Connor Nixon, that he has some sort of cheese toasty holder set up on his sim rig. We all know that a good profile sim rig, you can attach just about anything, so I assume there's a cheese toasty clip there somewhere that he just leans forward and takes a bite, mate. That's what I'm working on as my theory. If you know any different, let me know though, of course.
And Fisher's coming in for a pit. One of the guys who had stayed out from the beginning.
That's Team AJR in for their first car 016. As they get the driver swap done as well. Keep an eye here on Matt Vanderklaan, still carrying that damage from earlier on.
Yeah.
It does have the Stanley Cup attachment. You know, for a moment there I thought Stanley Cup as in the, is it an ice hockey trophy? But now I think I know the Stanley Cup you're talking about, and that does make a lot more sense, not gonna lie. Logan Barnett all over the back of Vanderklaan. This is so unusual for me, Lucas. I've seen Vanderklaan with the quickest pace in so many races prior to today, and yet here we are, and he's still in amongst it. But there are so many more challenges that have come along for this race, and certainly no less than Jake Slade. We'll jump to him out in front right now. The Revolution E-Racing entry up 13 seconds over P2 at the moment. Does still have to make a pit stop, but he continues to extend the lead further and further over Will Buchanan, his teammate, in second. Again, also yet to make the pit stop. Vanderklaan is in for his pit stop now. So really, all eyes need to be right here. Buchanan and Coleman going at it, but Coleman, of course, having made his pit stop, is effectively the race leader at this point.
That's right. He's gone through the guys that have pitted, except where he's at now, and was Slade up the front. He's done a tremendous job. Stayed out of trouble, and he's been so consistent since the first round of pit stops.
Yeah, it's been, honestly, it's been a pleasure to watch. Just, you see this so often from David Coleman, right? It's something that we have seen from him over and over and over again, is that particularly when he's at his top form, he is just so quick and so consistent, and he'll just hang in there, lap after lap after lap, just waiting. He knows he doesn't have to push to get past Will Buchanan. He knows that Buchanan's going to have to pit at some point fairly soon as he starts to get to the end of that fuel tank. But Coleman just continues to push along. I will say though, for both Slade and Buchanan, they're out there right now on 44 lap old tyres and still lapping mid 109s. That is phenomenally fast. Yeah,
the guys that have stayed out have, I mean, despite obviously the track position being the obvious thing, they've kept it going. The lap times have not adjusted hardly at all. Last one again, a mid 109, like you said. The only time I ever saw them get into the low 10s is when they were all pack racing, so they've been super consistent as well. And you can just see here, Coleman's just sitting behind, just like you said, doesn't feel the need that he has to, but is he going to go for it in this next following lap?
Well, he's got to be counting down the laps here. Slade's in, Buchanan stays out. Now, if that's not a team strategy, I don't know what would be. Right? You're going to see the driver change, of course. But I reckon Buchanan will leave it another lap or two just to give the team the best chance of staying in the mix. And we're about to see Callum Newton jump into the car, the number 244, and get back out there.
Yeah, this is all crucial now. And I guess we're going to see. It's hard to tell how much time he's going to be. It doesn't seem like he's pushing to get past urgently. Like he was close to him earlier, and saying that, he kind of is driving really well too. Like no mistakes, keeping it on track, keeping the car placed at the right place at the right time.
Nothing gets by you, Lucas Baker. Yes, there absolutely is a Windows notification every now and then when I forget to close the window down where I'm currently frantically updating team names to make sure we do have them all correctly displayed for you. So bear with me as we're doing that in the background. We see Buchanan come in, so David Coleman resumes in P1, but not as much of a gap right now to P2. Logan Barnett just a couple of seconds off the back at this stage.
Actually, it's a little fun fact. Daniel Sneddon, I've raced with before.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. So I was actually trying to see earlier. I saw he was in the race. So that's cool to see him out on track.
But tell me a little bit about his pace. What do we expect is yet to come from him?
I think with Daniel, he's gonna come out into a spot. Where is he on track now? Coming up. Yeah, I think he'll be fine. He was just gonna put his head down and just get the laps turned in. When I raced with him, he was super consistent. But this was going back maybe 3 years ago now. Yeah, just gotta keep your head down and just keep the car on track. Don't have to get caught up in anything too frantic. As long as he just stays consistent, I think they'll be fine.
Poor old Jamie Dyke. How nervous do you think I am now? Well, look, you've only got everything to hold together on the team front, mate. David Coleman's put in a stellar first stint, and yeah, you've got some work to do, but I have faith in you, mate. We've seen your capability. You'll get this done, I'm sure. Jamie Dyke not looking forward to getting in the car by the sound of things. We'll have to see how it goes. Look, you'll be absolutely fine, Jamie. No doubt.
Head and be on a silver putter.
Give us a bit of insight though. Have you heard anything on ERT and why they had to take so many pit stops? Did we miss some drive-throughs there? I still can't work it out. It's absolutely doing my head in, folks, because it just doesn't make sense. I can't see any reason at all for what's happened for them. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to hear if anyone does have information on that scenario. We've got the top three out the front now, with a big gap after that.
5-second penalty for car 604 just coming through from race control from lap 1. That is for Brendan Stera in the Play 1 race team entry. So only a small penalty. But you can see race control just working away on things in the background as it continues on. They'll be reviewing plenty. We see another pit stop underway. Now that's interesting because Newton's only just gotten on track in that car. So why is he back into the pits? Race control just confirming he's been sent back to the pits due to connection issues. So we are seeing that's. I don't think I can recall us actually having seen that decision having to be made before. So it must have been reasonably significant to have him going back to pits for it. It does make me feel a little bit better about our little connection issues earlier, though. I'll be honest. Ever so slightly better.
Is that a manual request or is that from the game?
That is a manual request from Race Control,
Okay.
I believe.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was asking because John Buck just mentioned too because I knew that iRacing put that feature in. Was it a season or two ago? There's an automatic thing in the background, but
maybe it is automatic. I'm curious, right? Because it's come up as a Race Control message in the iRacing chat that I'm looking at, but it is in yellow as an admin message. So whether that's something that Race Control can manually flag, or whether it is iRacing doing it automatically, your guess is as good as mine. Chip in, Isaac. I know you'll be able to give us an update on that. Big moment there for Vanderkrime. Gets a little sideways, recovers it well. Lucky to keep it out of the wall. Gonna have to get back on it though because he has Philo right on his tail.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting coming up to the end of this lap. Actually lucky to keep it straight. I thought the rules got caught on the curb that he was going to turn that around, but
all's well that ends all, I guess.
Continue to see that gap in P4 as well, separating the rest of the field behind the top three.
Temp right now up to 37 degrees for you, Harry. So it has warmed up a little from the starting temp of 33. But at this stage, not too bad.
And the guys out front still pulling off 109s, very low 109s, I should say. So their pace seems to be unaffected by the slight increase in track temp.
Oh, big moment there for Varga. It's just a little bit loose. It is, and look, when you consider the track temps, like it's not a particularly hot track, and that's probably contributed significantly to some of these early drivers getting 40, 50 laps out of a set of tyres, which is just, it's nuts. Absolutely bonkers to get that sort of number of laps out of a set of tyres in a Gen 3 supercar. But no, regardless, we saw it from so many, and as a result, they've managed to extend their pit stops right out to almost the full fuel tank distance. Yeah, so perhaps if you can confirm for us, Isaac, actually, because I know you've done plenty of race control in your time. The connection black flag got added last build as an automatic feature for iRacing, I believe, but can that be done manually by race admins, by race control, or is it something that only exists for the sim to decide on its own? And again, that's so bizarre to see that actually come out in a race. It's very unusual. Field's starting to get spread out now, and this is about where you see it, that third of the way through the race. Field just starts to get spread out as the pit stops begin happening, and then you get little bunches starting to come together like this. Vargs and Clifton now for 7th.
Yeah, this is just where you want to get your head down and just get your laps in. Remain as clean as possible. Yeah, like you said, the gaps have increased pretty much throughout the whole field. There's a couple of smaller gaps in between, but the majority of them are all within at least more than a second now. Owen's still 102.9 latest lap. Yeah, the guys up front are just continuing to pull in their low 109s. As you say that, now this group is has bunched up. Come on, Nicky Clifton from the chat.
Got a little bit of support out there for the drivers.
Yep.
Which we always have plenty of. You see the pit stops just starting to break up a little Now we're getting a variety of tactics starting to come in. Some of these drivers coming in for the first time since that early safety car. And we're on, well, almost the entire field getting their pit stops done around lap 11, lap 12. So we're still seeing 40 odd laps out of a lot of these pit stops. That cooler track temperature, I'll tell you what, it's a great time to be racing at Sandown. The track is being very, very kind to the tyres today.
Not sure if anything happened to Barnett. He put in a slower lap time and Hall's right up. Well, not right up, but within a second of him now, so I'm not sure if he had a little moment in the previous lap perhaps as well.
Let us know, guys, out in the chat, if there's anything you want us to check in on, any particular driver you want us to take a bit of a look at here as we get around for another 100 laps and change still ahead of us here in the Sandown 500. A third of the way through and no clear winners at this stage. Of course, very, very early to be calling a winner, but David Coleman doing an awesome job out in front, out to just over 4 seconds now over Barnett. Jamie Dyke getting ready to jump in the car at the end of this stint, I'm sure. So probably another, what do you reckon, Lucas? Another 5 or 10 laps we'll see perhaps from Coleman. It's hard to predict, of course, but
yeah, I think so. And I think Jamie will do well despite his nervousness. He'll do fine.
He'll be fine. He always is.
Yeah, you can't really ask for much more. Coleman's done absolutely brilliant. This opening segment of the race and managed to fight his way through all but one, I think, of the guys who hadn't stopped yet. So it's going very well for them. We get Hull getting ever so closer to Barnett now as well. Within half a second has been the closest it's been since the pit stops have all finished through. Okay, so yeah, John Bucks confirmed the black flag feature that was already added. Just got added in the latest patch to hosted sessions. That would make sense then.
Interesting. Okay.
Prior to that, I think it was just in the official races, which I think was last season from memory, or the season before.
So the latest patch has finally brought connection flags to hosted sessions. That's going to be really interesting. Look, we shouldn't see too many. Big moment there for the player one entry. Zatera getting very, very loose through Pertec corner, just keeping it straight. An awesome save from Zatera.
Very good up control.
He's going to have to come into the pits for a change of pants after that one. Not the first time we've seen it happen either, but so easy to do. Just a little too aggressive on the throttle on the way out of that turn. It's a very, very slow speed corner, and these cars love nothing more than lighting up those rear tyres.
Yeah, very easy to do. I've actually just gotten the Porsche Cup car recently after the Nürburgring 24.
You're a sucker for punishment, aren't you?
Yeah, a friend of mine wanted been begging me for like a few months to get it, so I finally got it, and that is a whole new beast. But it's good. It feels good to drive, which I should get the Gen3 cars as well. But yeah, it's just throttle control, brake control, keeping your revs in check. Yeah, it's just all it's very rewarding actually once you get used to it.
We check in on EWT for Matty in the chat. Right now, sitting in 11th, got Weston doing a good job just floating along on the back of this small pack. We're starting to see a bit of a gap and some crossover between a few of the lap drivers here and there. We see, big moment. Someone's lost a bar there.
Yeah.
Was that Mick Clifton in for the wall? It might have been Mick Clifton, who's just had a very, very big moment. Go back and we'll see if we can get a bit of a look at that one. He's lost the front bar, so whether he's clipped that outside wall or clipped the inside and just left the bar behind. Unfortunately for Clifton, that front right does not look healthy at all. Have a look at the grabbing under brakes.
That's not good. Yeah, it could have been with right before the new lap started that he might have clipped the inside, potentially.
He's done enough to keep it off our telemetry as a crash, but he's certainly done the damage to register as one. Yeah. Hopefully he can get it back to the pits now. Keep an eye here on Vanderkraan. Right now on the back of Brian Minogue from Fully Served United SLS Racing. Putting in a good showing, Minogue. We've seen him around the traps. Certainly has made his presence felt before. In a fair bit of the coverage we've had. Both here and I believe across the Simple Racing broadcast channel, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, certainly showing his pace here, holding off Vanderkraan nicely. Vanderkraan has a big look up the inside, but in the end decides not to push through.
You can see the lap times of the front runners slowly creeping up to the higher 109s now as well. With the
they've got to be thinking about tyres soon, surely.
Yeah, the duration of their stint in the tyres conditions. Yeah,
they're approaching, and as we say that, Nornson comes into the pits and drops to P7. That front 8 all came in on either lap 11 or 12 under the safety car. Now, they will have done a couple of laps more than that under the safety car, but we are still talking almost 50-lap-old tyres, which really just shows how well Sandown looks after tyres for a Gen 3 supercar, particularly with a cooler track. It's the high-speed turns that really do chew the tyres on the Gen 3s, and Sandown just doesn't have a lot of that for them to worry about.
Oh, there we go. Hall's coming in for a pit from P2.
How long can David Coleman stay out there? That's the question. An 8-second gap right now to Barnett, so he's continued to increase that. He's got to be thinking about it soon.
They've gone back down to 109.3s in the last lap too, so never mind what I said in the last lap when there was a high 109.
Don't worry about it. They're not dropping that pace off at all. Those front three, all in the 109.3s, absolutely pushing the pace. Greg Favell, worth calling out, a 109.1 on the 20-odd lap old tyres. So there's definitely a lot of pace in the track today, and certainly as more rubber gets laid down, it's going to continue to hold that pace. The only question will be how much the drivers are willing to push.
We've got a few more pit stops happening here. Manuel and Healy coming in. Coleman putting another 109.2. No slowing down at all.
Who wants to slow down? Honestly, it's no fun. It is starting to happen though, and it's not surprising. Again, we'll defer to the setup knowledge of Mr. McKnight. Pointing out 51 laps is pretty much a full tank of fuel here, so most of these drivers will be getting to fumes after their pit stops under safety car.
Yep.
So very, very much time for them to start considering it.
I'm just because I'm not familiar, where has Hall come out, or his teammate position after that pit stop? Just lost on my tracking here.
In one moment as we take a little look in the background. So Chad Lewis has come in 8th. They're still very much amongst it. The pit stop hasn't really cost them a great deal of position at all.
Good to know.
Brian Minogue and Matt Vanderkraan continue the battle. just staying inside the top 10 right now. But this is one of the closer ones on track at the moment.
Yeah, this has been going on for a while, this one. This is test of patience, I guess.
Well, that's it, right? How hard do you push? And how much do you just, keep in mind that you've still got 100 laps to go, and any damage here is going to set you well back.
Yeah, you don't want to do anything silly at this point. Under 100 laps to go, you're just going to bide your time, and I think the right moments and the opportunities that present themselves, you'll see Coleman go into the pits in the background for his second stop. And Barnett as well.
Jamie Dyke getting into the car now. Let's see what he can do with the lead that David Coleman's set up. I'm hoping Dyke's no longer listening in. I don't want to put any extra pressure on him. But also Sean Vandermeulen jumping in the car as well. So that will be an interesting one. Vandermeulen has some serious pace.
Interesting to see where they're going to come out in relation to Lewis. If they're going to tuck in right behind, how much of a gap there's going to be where they left off. Okay, so they got Minogue and Van der Kran in between now as well.
That'll add an interesting little barrier.
It's right there, half a second behind. By the time he gets his car up to speed a little bit as well.
And of course the tyres up to temp. Let's not forget that you're going to need, probably, given the track conditions, you're probably going to need 2 laps before you really see the tyres start to perform. So that is going to have an impact, particularly through some of the more technical sections of this circuit.
Yeah, of course. Also got the temporary front runners all coming in as well. Their pits, and who we got Varga up front now.
I've got to say, the pace that we're still seeing here, Lucas, is it's
about
more
to say about
than what I'm expecting.
Yeah, especially the guys out in a little bit of clear air, the times just continue to come back down again into the lower 109s. The guys that aren't so close to the rear bumpers. There's an interesting little battle here too. Is that McKay bouncing all over the curbs?
You've got to be so careful on the curbs here at Sandown. Some of them you can absolutely send these cars over, but there's just a couple that are so aggressive. And again, remind me very much of the curbs on Nürburgring, right? You tap them and it unsettles the car so much that you will go sideways into the wall. This chicane though, you can see the drivers taking full advantage of the absolute width of the track. But certainly through, around turn 3, 4, you just can't afford to get up and over the edge of the curb at all. There's a huge drop off on the opposite side of them, and if you do decide to push the limits there, you will absolutely feel it.
Yeah, that last chicane, you can definitely take advantage of that. You see that each time the camera's there with the cars going straight through it with no issue with car load or balance. But yeah, the first couple of corners, there's some curbs that are unsettle the car, and the angle you can even see it there on the outside. But you just want to keep it. Yeah, look at that. That's one thing I do really love about iRacing is the. I can't remember what it is exactly in terms of the information processed like through the online portion, but it's translated into all the visual. So you can see all the suspension movements and the tires and all that.
The physics handling and the way that it is visible on these cars particularly is unreal.
Yeah, because
like one of the best places to see it is where you load up these supercars in the corners. Yeah, and if you haven't taken a close look at this before, folks, have a look at just how much travel there is in the tyres, particularly on the outside as they load up into the corners. They go so deep into those wheel wells.
Yeah, it's as far as I'm aware, the other sims do not have as much detail in that visual representation. Obviously, you can see movements and whatnot, but I think, at least for me, iRacing feels like it's the most visual in terms of displaying all that on track, which looks incredible. I've also got Coleman in the chat.
Hey, David Coleman, dropping on in. Good to see you, mate.
Good work, man. That was terrific. Terrific couple of stints.
So here we go, Vanderkraan getting right amongst it still, but Jamie Dyke right there in the background. And look, I will send apologies to a few of the drivers who are watching it at the moment. I'm sure we're just trying to work out what's going on with trading paints and some of these liveries, because I am certain that they are not the ones that you had selected for this race. So we're trying in the background here desperately to figure out just what's going on. And I don't have an answer yet, but hopefully we will shortly.
Oh, big accident coming down the chicane.
Go back and take a look at that in a moment, but it looked like one of the Revolution iRacing.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
Entries, there we go. Buddle. That look, things just a big moment, and look, really, really easy to do. Downhill, heavy braking. Going to come in and get that one fixed up.
Yep.
For number 242.
Everything's pushed in at the front.
Yeah, you're not gonna get much pace out of that by pushing on, unfortunately. Yeah, spot on, BG. One of the great things, right, is that this does look so real. If you don't know what you're looking for with iRacing, you often don't realise, and there are a couple of giveaways and little details that I certainly notice when we are broadcasting, and that I'm sure all of you notice. But the other side of it, of course, and very happy to say that a couple of friends of mine have quite often put on replays of some of the Alliance Sim Racing broadcasts, and certainly some of the other simple broadcasts that we've done, and I just put those on in the office, and people haven't realised for quite some time that they're actually watching sim racing. It's a great looking sim. I don't care what people say about the older graphics engine this does run. It's the way the cars move in iRacing is so natural and so realistic compared to just about everything else that's out there. And that's what makes the difference.
Yeah, agreed. It's yeah, like you said, there is some giveaways that make it obvious, but at a quick glance, a lot of the times you can look over and just second guess yourself a couple of times, depending on the track shown as well. I feel like the cars and the models and the way they look and feel is the most impressive and lifelike. Yeah, and the TV cameras too. That
it doesn't hurt either, right? It doesn't hurt.
Yeah. Watching from Brazil, Felipe.
Felipe, how you doing, my friend? I hope you're doing well. And congratulations on joining at one of the best parts of this race, the mid-race slump, you'd almost call it, where people start to just zone out a little bit. You get to about this point, you've got fresh drivers in the car, but it's so easy to just get a little too comfortable in the car at this point, and that's where you start to see some of these mistakes happen.
Coleman, you're so consistent, man. Even with the increase in temperature, yeah, I was looking at your lap times, and they did brilliantly. That was really well done.
It's good fun to watch, isn't it? David Coleman always puts on. Look, I don't want to put pressure on him and say a masterclass, but he always puts on a good show every time he's in the car.
That's as good as a compliment as you can get, Coleman. No, it's good. It's really, really cool to see. And this is like my first time on the microphone broadcasting in here.
So give him heaps, guys. Give him heaps.
Yeah. So I'm open to any criticism and feedback because
no, Luke is doing a great job behind the mic. Give him some love in the chat, folks. Always good to have someone along. Dave, would you believe we are actually running IR Sidekick livery already? So I'm going to try a bit of a reload of that at some point. But I don't want to look away from any of this racing while we do it either. So we'll take a look at it shortly and see what we can come up with. Right now, just trying to figure it out in the background, as well as a few of the team naming issues that are going to bug me when it does come time to share results with everybody. Hey, Jacob, in the States, look, glad you can catch this. It's awesome racing, the Supercars, gotta love them. And iRacing has done such a brilliant job. Drive-through penalty for car number 868. Ooh. That is, of course, Stephen Barker and Jason Bentz, the Quantum Racing 868. So that will hurt them a little. Drive-through penalty worth about 25 seconds, give or take a few, depending on how much you want to push the limits of the speed through pits.
I've not heard of Better T before. Is that TP? Is that for does that work alongside trading paints? Is it?
Yeah, IR Sidekick livery is the way to go. Okay. I'll have a chat to you about that one later, Soto, because it is so much better than the trading paints loader, generally speaking.
Yeah, cool.
Hey, Stephen Kennedy checking in. Yeah, look, it's something to do with the way that iRacing runs its liveries. Generally speaking, IR Sidekick livery is pretty good for it, but I do wonder whether the latest patch has had anything to do with it. We'll see what we come up with. Hopefully we can get it sorted for you. Hey Felipe, glad you're enjoying it, mate. We do try to put on the best looking broadcast that we can here at Simple. But yeah, look, if you're enjoying it, that's all that matters. And the V8 Supercars, absolutely amazing. You know something that doesn't get enough love in iRacing, Lucas, and this is going to be a little controversial, I'm sure, and also going to raise some eyebrows with, I know the crowd that are likely watching this, but the Brazilian touring cars that are in iRacing.
Oh,
They came around and they never got a huge amount of attention. Now maybe it's different. You can maybe tell us, Felipe. I don't know if many people drive them in Brazil because they are local cars, but I don't see a lot going on for them, and that's a real disappointment because they are very cool cars.
Yeah, I haven't used them on iRacing. I have used them on Automobilista too, and they're heaps fun to drive.
It's so different, right?
It's just I don't know. With iRacing, I guess there's always the kind of default popular series, and then it's just hard to know.
GT3s are nothing for so many people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I find frustrating.
Yeah.
Is that it's just it's not as popular as it probably deserves to be.
Yeah, I agree. They're a lot of fun to drive. Put on the limit, door-to-door racing. We've got Dyke that's caught up to this pack here in front.
Oh, very, very close through that corner. That lap traffic in front just causing a few issues now. Vanderkran's going to find himself stuck. He's going to have to find a way through here past the Dentec entry. All the way back in P20. Horsell just getting caught up amongst some of the position leaders. Jamie Dyke, though, doing an awesome job, just tucked onto the back right now of Matt Vanderkran as they come down the main straight. Horsell's going to get out of the way and just back it off as they come to turn one. Meanwhile, worth calling out, Greg Favell out in front, just starting to extend further, 11.5 seconds ahead of Brody Sentence in the 9.5 SimSport AAA.
Yeah, he's done a good job. Got consistent laps as well in the low 109s.
Still so quick.
Yeah, it is.
Like, I look at these lap times and it just blows me away to see guys lapping it at these sort of paces. I can't even. I just can't even.
Yeah, it's certainly something. I don't know. I'm not that quick overall. If I'm racing consistently, I'll do okay-ish. But yeah, it does baffle me a lot of the times on how much these guys can extract out of the cars and their setups and their team strats. Yeah, it's really a sight to behold. Especially in a car like this too, that requires so much concentration and finesse to master.
Well, that's the thing, it takes so little to just end up sideways.
Yeah.
In a Gen 3 Supercar particularly. Like, it's almost easier to end up sideways than it is to keep them on track some days. And yeah, it is absolutely tough going a lot of the time. Yeah, David, look, the Fisher livery does look good, even if it's not perhaps the one that you had intended. It is a bloody good looking Castrol replication.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it.
And if memory serves, that is from, I want to say it's from the retro round, isn't it? And maybe even from the other league, I'm not sure, but we will try and get it updated for you, I promise. Look at that. Isaac chipping in to tell me that I do actually have a memory that works from time to time. You'd love to see it. Minogue, Vanderkraan and Dyke, the three closest to each other at the moment. This battle for fourth continues. Now, the thing to keep note of though, Minogue and Vanderkraan still only having made one pit stop. Their tyres about 35 laps old now, so Jamie Dyke just cruising along behind them. He's made his second, effectively in third place right now if we count those pit stops. So set up very, very nicely for the second half of this race. We are rapidly approaching the midpoint.
Yeah, it seems that everything's
You know what, Mitchell?
now.
Just for you, mate. Here we go. Gangatangers Racing number 24, Aiden Sykes, is just doing the best they can to get both the cars on stream at once. And look, you got to allow it occasionally, I suppose.
It does look really nice actually with the opposite colours next to each other. I like it.
It does. It does for sure. You know, I'll be honest. I went looking because as a broadcaster, you want to have certain rules that iRacing require to have applied in terms of what gets shown in liveries, and I went looking because I was sure Liquid Death was some kind of alcohol brand that needed to have the livery overridden. And turns out it is just a very, very well branded spring water, effectively. Who comes up with this stuff, honestly?
I remember seeing this for the first time in the States late last year, and I thought it was, I thought it was alcohol too until I picked it up. It was in the Walmart, is where I saw it. And so it was that. And I was like, oh, okay. Did not
what I
expect
expected,
that at all.
Not at all.
Yeah.
They've got it at Woolworths now, do they? I haven't actually seen it in Australia yet, but there you go. Cans of water.
Yeah, it is very cool branding.
Absolutely is. Speaking of branding, folks, we are going to try a quick reload of deliveries on this end and see if we can get them updated here, so bear with us in just a moment.
Okay.
And we will have deliveries, hopefully, all sorted for you.
Here we
see
go.
them starting to just reload. It does give you a really good look though, as the deliveries disappear at the debris that's getting added to the cars as they go around. That is something that is reasonably fresh for iRacing.
Yeah, I feel like something like that adds quite a lot to the immersion factor of Sims.
Oh, 100%.
Seeing the cars get dirtied up over the course, especially with longer races. Just adds that little bit extra, rather than, finishing a 4-hour race, you come at the end and the car looks like it came out of a showroom still.
Yeah.
It is a nice touch.
Absolutely. Felipe checking back in. You never race the stock car, so it's a hard car to drive. Yeah, look, that's the impression I got as well. A lot of power for a very easily overpowered chassis. And yeah, not surprised to see that more people go for GT3s. Look, I get the love for GT3s. You've got World Endurance Championships. They're a much more internationally recognised series of racing than a lot of what iRacing does have to offer. But I don't know. I've not been that impressed with the GT3s, and granted, maybe it's a skill issue, right? But I've never been super impressed by them when I get in and drive them. Now, that said, the new tyre model. Who out there in chat has actually tried out the new tyres on the GT3? I went for a bit of a spin just over the last couple of days since the patch release, and it has made them, I will admit, a lot more engaging to drive. You, Lucas, you had a look at them?
Yeah, I've tried them on the bend and around Spa. Yeah, I think definitely a step in the right direction. I think it's a lot more fun to drive. You can feel a lot more what the car's doing. I feel like you're a bit more in control of the car, especially when in terms of being on the edge of it. Whereas prior, or at least for me, you always didn't really know, how the car was going to handle at the limit. And if you did know, most times it's just unrecoverable. Or at least now you can catch some slides, you can push the slip angle a little bit, and you have a longer process to get tyres up to speed. So I actually did a Watkins Glen race, just a short 15-minute, I think it was. And yeah, a lot of cars were being caught out to start with very cold tyres and locking up and going off. And so I think it would be a little discipline in the early stages of stints as well, which is really cool. But yeah, I like it. I think it's a great step in the right direction.
Jump back, bit of a battle here between Ben Mullen and Blacklock. Revolution Race Gear getting up the inside, make the pass look easy in the end.
Yeah, that was nice. Going away already as well. Got Minogue coming in the pits.
It is one of the things that I'd love to see them rework here at Sandown. It's one of a few tracks that has this issue. The fastest line, particularly in Gen 3 Supercar, takes you right out to that pit entry. And of course the game decides, yep, you are entering the pits, and so it picks that up. And it can get a little disconcerting as a broadcaster.
Yep.
To see pit stops happen and then not happen. But still, it still doesn't explain for me, Lucas, what on earth happened with the 3 in a row from ERT earlier.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything about that, have we? Nothing's come through, no intel.
Now that said, we'll check in. Yeah. Scott Mackay in the entry is back up to 7th now. So their last pit stop was on lap 41. So he has just been slowly climbing away and dragging this car back to the front. A huge stint for Mackay. So the two Scots really there, Mackay and Gamble, that is a big push. Vanderkrone goes into the pits. So it'll be very interesting to see if they can bring it back after all of those issues. Yeah, spot on, BG. Like any tyre upgrade should be how close it is to the real car, and certainly the feedback on these Gen 3 Supercars. Oh, a very, very bold move from Mackay. He looked up the inside there of the Player One Sim Gear entry, and probably not the move at this point. Although a lapped car, there's really not a bunch of room there. Felipe, what SUV is being used in touring car racing? What model is that? That is unusual to say the least, to see an SUV. Car 244 picking up a drive-through penalty. That's Callum Newton back in the Revolution iRacing entry in 25th. And so a bit of contact leading to a drive-through.
4 laps ago, yeah.
Race control just working their way through. As we pass the halfway point of this Sandown 500, the Alliance Sim Racing Endurance Championship continues. And we will shortly be joined, I'm sure, by our third commentator today in the form of Isaac Edwards. Lucas Sott and I taking you through the first half here. But it has been a very interesting race so far. Certainly a lot more incidents than I was expecting, Lucas. But all in all, nothing major and only the one safety car to speak of.
Yeah, especially those first opening 15 or so laps were quite chaotic, action-packed. But yeah, the one safety car has kind of been, get your head down after that. Driver swaps happening, everyone continuing their pace. But yeah, nothing too crazy since then. A few little incidents here and there. A couple of broken bumpers. But other than that, kind of business as usual for most of the teams. And yeah, thank you for everyone tuning in and having me on for the first half of the race. Been entertaining and a good track to first do this on as well. Because I do like Sandown.
I'll be honest, and I've said it before, and I've copped a reasonable amount of flack and fair call. I didn't love Sandown.
Okay.
The first time I kind of got out on it, the first bit of coverage we had, I wasn't super impressed with it.
Yep.
It feels almost a little underwhelming until you realise just how much it takes to punt a Gen 3 supercar through this series of corners.
Yeah.
In particular, it is such an art form, and it is absolutely dancing through that chicane.
Yeah.
And until you're at this level of pace, you don't realise just what it takes to get a car around Sandown, and the layout, or big moment there just up ahead.
Scraping against the guardrail.
Yeah, just a bit of lost traction. Looks like was Chad Vargar, was it? Had a bit of a moment there. That's allowed Mackay to catch back up, and he'll be battling for fourth now.
Yeah, front left is panels pushed up.
It's not looking happy, is it?
No, hopefully it's nothing too dramatic that you can stay out and finish the stint.
Okay, so Isaac just confirmed for us the Chevy Tracker and Toyota Corolla Cross are now in Brazilian touring car racing. That is weird. That is so weird. Can you imagine the center of gravity on the things? Just, it would be the first touring car series that I'd be expecting to see rollovers happen.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not quite what you buy from the showroom, but yeah, very interesting to hear that that's what's going into some of those races. Take a look at that gap out front right now. Greg Favell, 25 seconds ahead. Absolutely huge
That is
effort.
massive.
We check in Favell on what must be 45, 46 lap old tyres at the moment. Still running mid to low 109s. The track conditions today absolutely immaculate for these cars.
Yep, seems like everyone's getting along with the track conditions nicely. Nothing extreme. What's the temperature gone up to now? What's the latest we got?
Let's check in.
Track temp. What was
Latest weather was at 37 before. It's only climbed to 39.
Yes,
and we started at 33 degrees. It has been an absolutely gorgeous day for track conditions, and really contributes so incredibly importantly to the tyre wear these drivers are experiencing, or not experiencing as the case may be.
Yep.
You know what, BG, you bang on. We did see a Volvo station wagon here in the Super Tourers once upon a time, so I can't really call the Corolla Cross anything too groundbreaking in that respect. So they're at McKnight now, the battle for 8th as they come back onto the final series of turns and onto the straight. So then into the pits, McKnight continues on, and he'll get himself back up into 8th. As always, the Fishy Motorsport livery, instantly recognisable with the piranha skeleton on the side. And McKnight doing his very best out there to just try and recover a little bit more track position as they continue on. Greg Favell is into the pits. Now this will be interesting because he's not going to lose a great deal of time. Wayne Walker getting back in the car now. Keep your eye on this.
Lead. Good Dyke shortly behind.
It's going to be a long stop because they're going to be taking full fuel. But I'm guessing about 35-40 seconds. Vigar and Scott Mackay both into the pits as well. So a chance here for the rest to move on through. Stephanie Pickley, welcome to the chat. Car 351 is who you're cheering for today, and they're doing their best. Andrew Rushworth right now, sitting in 23rd, but still in amongst it. It's been a long race for a lot of these drivers, that is for sure. But Andrew Rushworth, right now caught up in amongst and just having been passed by the lead couple of drivers, doing a great job of just keeping the car consistent and on track, and really just keeping it intact has been half the battle here at Sandown today. Further up, Nick Heusler and Senton's about to trade places through turn 1.
Yep. Yeah, a few of these pit stops going all the way, all 52, 53 seconds.
So when all is said and done, Wayne Walker only coming out in 6th, which just gives you a bit of a view of just how far ahead the Accelerated Endurance number 217 was on the way into that pit stop. That's insane.
Yeah,
and
that's really, really
going
good.
to go and push so hard to get onto the back of Jamie McKnight, who sits a fair way further up. That's a good question. We'll go back and we'll take a quick look there for you, BG. I think it might have been Dominic Buttle. We'll go back and we'll see what we can see here.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's absolutely not the way to go at all. And all you can do, that's a really dangerous spot for those cars to end up stopped. So contact there between Todd Martin and Dominic Buttle. Martin gets going and Buttle's just waiting for a gap in the traffic. Unfortunately, at the pace they're coming through, there's really nowhere safe for him to move at that point, and just has to sit and let the traffic make its way by before he can back it off there. Now, the only question is, and again, more traffic coming through, this has cost him so much time. And the other thing to keep in mind is the opportunity to get hung up on the grass there. Not ideal.
It's a very unfortunate spot to be in.
Absolutely. And yeah, spot on, Kurt. You cannot see a thing there from just about any view from within the car, so you're relying entirely on your relative and your teammate as a spotter to let you know when it's actually safe to get underway. Not ideal in the slightest. We welcome to the booth Isaac Edwards. Isaac, welcome on in, mate. You're here for the second half of the coverage with me. How have you been enjoying it from your perspective so far?
Yeah, it's been...
It's moments, hasn't it?
Yeah, it certainly has moments. I've been trying to describe how it is. Other than that one safety car's been fairly clean.
Yeah, it has been, and I mean, it's what we've come to expect from the ASR crew, and I'm not at all surprised, but given how hard we've seen some of these drivers pushing throughout, and you can see it now with Heusler and Bentz, absolutely going at it. There's been a lot more opportunities for issues than I think what have actually occurred throughout the race so far.
Yeah, 100%. Might be a battle for position. Yeah, looks like
Bit of a moment again. Like that inside line, really interesting. This is Wayne Walker though, getting caught up in amongst some of the traffic further back. Lucas Sott, thank you so much for stepping into the commentary booth with us this morning, mate. We're going to bid you farewell as you step away, but looking forward to bringing you back to the booth again in the not too distant future.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Really fun to be here, and we'll keep an eye on the rest of the race on the cast. Enjoy, guys.
Enjoy
Appreciate
kicking
it.
back, mate, with the well-earned drink.
Thank you.
Now, it looks as though Callum Newton's just had a bit of a jump to the pits earlier as well. And I'm just trying to work out what's happened with the Revolution iRacing number 244. I can't see an issue. Can't see a crash there anywhere. Isaac, did you catch anything that I've missed?
no. Might have been involved in that little incident that happened a couple of laps ago, involving one of the quantum cars over at turn number 4, if my memory serves me correctly.
Yeah, it could just be that he's jumped into the car and that's how our telemetry's picked it up, I suppose. At the moment, though, Wayne Walker, effective lead, you'd have to say, given that he's made that third pit stop. Luke Allman just behind, I say just behind, about 11 seconds further back, is also following on, but really the ones to watch here, Michael Stewart and Scott Mackay, having made their most recent stops as well. Jamie McKnight's in at the moment, just a stop in for fuel and tyres, and he's back out for another stint. So they're looking to extend a little further. We're getting down to just a little under 70 laps to go, so we're solidly past the halfway mark, and still I don't think we've got a particularly clear lead. Question in the chat from BG, and Isaac, you're probably pretty well placed for this. Is it true this new connection black flag teleports you to pits automatically? I would think that's probably what's happened, hey? Because Callum had the black flag earlier.
Yeah, that'll be the case. I was having a look at the patch notes when in the last two seasons, and yeah. So if iRacing picks up that you've been having a connection issue for too long, it will give you a connection black flag, and you will be sent back to the pits until your connection stabilizes.
Now that's an interesting one to see coming into the hosted races.
Yeah, it came out this patch coming. That's not a possible position. That's playing the lap car by at turn 6. Yeah, going back to the connection issue thing. Yeah, the hosted part only came out in the patch that came out a couple of days ago. So it works
very new.
Yeah, it's very, very new. It says in the patch notes it works in a similar way of how the officials do the connection black flag.
If I'm not mistaken, the officials, I think you actually end up DQ'd from the race effectively, right?
I'm not sure on that one, to be honest. I haven't tested that out with myself.
I'd like to not test it, ideally.
We'll see how it goes. And I haven't. Oh, we got a drive-through penalty.
242, Revolution iRacing for the contact with Quantum Racing's 243. So that's the issue we saw earlier for Dominic Buddle. And we might go back and see if we can pick up just what's happened a little before that, because Buddle's actually been penalised for it. Let's go take a look and see just what was happening in that battle.
Let's say something must have. Here we go.
Side by side through the turn. Martin ends up ahead. Buddle sends it up and over the corner. Yep, that'll do it. And so what we saw was this second half of that.
Yeah,
it's not actually Martin into Buddle at all, but rather Buddle into Martin into Buddle.
Yeah, that looking at it now, that makes a bit more sense.
Doesn't it just? It's a very different situation when you go back just a few extra seconds
Yeah, because in the original replay, it's like, hang on a second, that doesn't look right, and we go back a few more seconds and see how it initially happened. And it's like, yeah, that actually does make sense.
So Ned and Fisher side by side down the back straight. Then probably making the right choice there to just back it out and drop in behind. Fisher's though left himself very wide. He's going to have to get off the gas there and slow down. Thankfully, keeps his nose out in front for 13th. And Snedden's just going to have to tack onto the back. We've got Lewis coming in for the pit stop, and I imagine driver change now as well. Keep your eye on Sean Vandermeulen here, of course, as well. He's getting on towards probably not a pit stop just yet, but 30 odd laps in, sitting reasonably comfortably in third. But can he actually get out ahead of Lewis? He's got the pace down the main straight. And there it is, Vandermeulen flies on past and takes second in the current running order. Chad Lewis, though, just behind for Evolution Racing Team. We'll be just trying to get those tyres up to temp as he comes out from that pit stop.
That's 33 lap newer tyres for Chad, so once he gets the tyre temps up, I reckon he'll start harassing the back of Vandermeulen as soon as he can.
Really interesting to see that they are effectively on the same kind of strategy here. Like Lewis having just come out of the pits, that's a lap 95 pit in, so to be so close to Vandermeulen, it really just reinforces the gap that was there for ERT. And when you look at Jamie Dyke right now out in front by almost 24 seconds, that's a really, really strong position to be in, even with a pit stop down on some of these other drivers. He's got to be feeling fairly confident. David Coleman, I imagine you're potentially hanging around in the chat still. How are you feeling about where that car's sitting right now? You've done well to set it up. Jamie Dyke out there carrying it on. He was pretty nervous about getting in the car after your efforts, but I reckon you've got to be pretty happy with that effort from the teammate, right? Sure.
Yeah, I would think so. Like if you put the car in a really good spot, then I think you're almost guaranteed to potentially stay in that position, barring any moments. Let's see here.
Lewis has gone back in, so we were just talking about how close behind he was, but immediately back into the pits.
Oh,
that is unusual.
That is unusual.
And we'll just wait and see just how long he is actually sitting in there. I'm not sure what to make of that either. But for Jamie Dyke, not interested at all.
I can't see any...
He's back out now, 37, just shy of 38 seconds in the box. Yeah, that's a good question, Lucas. That's what I'm trying to figure out. He's come out of the pits and immediately back into the pits on the very next lap, spending another 30 odd seconds in there. Very strange.
I've seen nothing in regards to a black flag. Could have been an iRacing issued black flag. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, that's actually very that's going to throw that the 462 almost out of race winning contention. But we're only just past the halfway point, I would assume. So yeah, this is a hit they don't need.
No, absolutely not. And David Coleman on point in the chat. A safety car could change everything drastically. And, not wrong.
Not wrong. Knowing the nature of Sandown, like on paper it looks simple, but in reality it's anything but.
And there's so many parts of this track where it's not only easy for a car to end up sideways, but also very easy for it to be in a position where you need to call a safety car to safely extract them from that position. Particularly at Pertec Corner that we've just seen. You know, you get someone spun sideways on the exit of that and you've got no choice but to call a safety car out. And all of the gaps you see in that timing tower, we've got so many double-digit second gaps between cars at the moment. That'll evaporate in an instant. And there we go. Dan Hall, crew chief unticked, begin fueling. Lucas Sock, it's not just us. It's not just us that have had fuel issues with pit stops. I'm not excited for the team, but it's interesting to see that happen 2 weeks in a row. That is brutal, Dan. I'm sorry to hear that that's what's happened.
Oh, what an absolute shame for that to happen. Yeah, not what you need for crew chief to simply untick fueling.
Bizarre. Why,
It is.
Why? When does crew chief ever untick fuel? I've never seen that happen.
It might be like a voice command thing that he might have said and completely forgot.
Perhaps. BG, yes, driver change absolutely happens with fuel and tyres. Lucas and I are both scarred from our 24-hour experience. And, just to complete the story for the folks at home, we had that issue. Came in. I was coming in for my pit stop in the middle of my 2 sets of laps, and came in up on the jacks and left and looked at the pit time and went, hang on, 44 seconds. That's really way too quick, guys. Something's gone wrong. Looked down, 5 litres of fuel. Lesson to anyone who's planning on driving an event at Nürburgring, to tow a full lap of that 24-hour layout will cost you usually about 11.5-12 minutes of towing time. If you do decide to drive around and take the GP track entry back into the pits, you will be slugged with a 14-minute stop and hold. So better off to just tow it. And I wish I'd known that.
Oh, it was that in I think it was Shane Patterson holding up Jason Benson, Connor Nixon. This is a battle for 5th. So
Benson just getting caught up in it. The Factor Racing number 82. But
Benson,
Nixon's still at it. Nixon, we've seen him make some aggressive moves here today already, Isaac. I'm not sure if you've seen them in the background, but he's not been hanging around. Absolutely pushing for every position.
No, here we go. Again. He's going to make the pass and done.
Benz ends up out on the marble, so he's going to have to tiptoe through the corner there. Nixon makes it look easy in the end.
Oh, I understand.
That was textbook. Absolutely textbook.
He absolutely lined it up brilliantly, and when the opportunity came, took it, and yeah, fast done. Up into 5th for car 27, Connor Nixon.
And this is the decision that Benz has to make at that point, right? Do you defend hard, knowing that Nixon's got that sort of pace, and put your car at risk if he does decide to push the issue? Or do you just let it go and just settle into your rhythm, knowing that you've still got 60 laps to go? I mean, I'm inclined not to battle it too hard at this point of the race, right?
No, and like Nixon's on 30 lap fresher tyres.
That's a good point.
I don't think Benz will be wanting to battle someone with fresher tyres. Look at the gap already. He's already pulled out nearly 1.2 seconds within a lap. That's with fresher tyres and I think slightly full of fuel.
Yeah, it's a massive difference. Massive difference. Ask and you shall receive, BG. Here's your pit stop count so far on the timing tier. I'll leave that up for a little while so you can have a look through. The standout for me, Scott Mackay, the Evolution Racing Team, number 543, currently in 9th. That is... I still can't understand what happened for them during that safety car period, but it hasn't hurt them too badly, after all. Dan Hall, I'm sorry to hear that you were the crew chief in question, mate, and that makes more sense than crew chief unticking for you. So I am always more comfortable with human error than knowing that crew chief has all of a sudden introduced random errors or something like that. Take a look at Jay McKnight now, riding behind Craig Healy, gets the pass done down the straight. He's going to have to be a heavy under brakes here, but plenty of room to get the car pulled up. Goes wide on the exit, but he'll stay on the inside. Shuts the door on Healy.
Slam the door shut, won't you?
Absolutely leaving no room. But of course, not blocking, just following his racing line. And Healy will be slotting behind, taking P10 as McKnight starts to pull away. Again, just a case of difference in tyres, isn't it, Isaac? 91 was the last lap that McKnight pitted on. Craig Healy is out there on 45 lap old tyres.
Those tyres will be screaming for mercy right now.
I think they're past screaming at this point. They're basically dead. Basically dead.
Basically. You'll almost be running on the steel carcass.
Yeah, it's pushing the absolute limits of tyre life as a general rule.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, 100%.
Then speaking of, there he goes, Healy into the pits. That might have been the inspiration to go, okay, yep, we're probably done here. Time to get them swapped over.
The tyres have screamed no more.
And it's not fun trying to drive these cars with tyres in that state. It's
No, 100%.
they slide. There's no other way to put it. We jump forward. The battle for 7th starting to heat up. Heddershide is just having to keep an eye on his rearview mirror because Michael Stewart, it's Matt Vanderkraan's teammate in the car at the moment. The number 180 has started to close the gap, and he's brought with him Scott Mackay from ERT. So both of these drivers very quick in their own right. Hedgershide's going to have to do a phenomenal job of driving defensively here as they come along to the back. A big slide there from Heddershide. That's going to help them close the gap further. Can he get the drive in the main straight?
That's going to give him a poor exit out of the final corner. And I think he'll have a bit of the draft there by, I think that's the 62. The 82, Shane Patterson, to help try and rebound a bit of that gap as we see. I think that is the... No, what?
Healy back out in front, yeah. P18, Craig Healy has made his pit stop, come back out with those fresh tyres. So he'll be a little slow on this outlap, but yeah, the main obstacle right now, Patterson, gets out of the way. He's going to let those drivers through.
Patterson balked Heddershide there a bit. So it's going to bring Stewart and Mackay back closer. Coming to turn 6.
Is Mackay actually going to get there in time? He has. Patterson's backed off a little further, which is, the appropriate thing to do. Is Patterson runs very, very wide in the background. Trying to pull up. BG just asking in the chat what the critical lap for fuel to the end is. Look, if we take, again, the maestro, Jamie McKnight, advising us earlier that you'll get about 51 laps out of a full tank here, then probably about 110, 111 is your critical lap. So if you're coming in then, you should get to the end. The question is, do you push it a bit further if you've got fuel in the tank? I mean, if you've got it there, why not? Right? Just extend that final pit stop as far as you can to just reduce the amount of time spent fueling. I would have to do way more maths than my brain can handle this afternoon to be able to tell you exactly what the optimal is in terms of a driver change if they're going to do one in the last stop. About 30 seconds of fuel at whatever rate the fuel goes in. You can do the math on the numbers there, I suppose. I'm actually not entirely certain on the fill rate of the Gen3 Supercars, but most of the iRacing cars are about 2.5 litres a second. So 60 odd litres, maybe 70 odd litres that you'll get in a driver change stop, which is probably close enough to a half tank, which says to me that the critical lap... See, we're doing maths on the fly here, folks, so I hope you're enjoying my thought process, because it's probably horrifically wrong. But I would say that the ideal pit stop lap, if you're doing a driver change, is going to be somewhere around lap 130, 140-ish. Somewhere in between those two. Probably horrible, Isaac. I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna nod and say yes because this is going right through my head as well. Oh dear.
Heddershide's still holding off Stewart and Mackay at the moment, and in fact almost starting to open the gap. Stewart just dealing with his own battle with Mackay more than looking ahead at this stage. Mackay looking like he's carrying almost just a little damage to the front end of that car. We'll see if we can pick it up here, whether it is just... Looks like it might just be delivery, so if that's the case, he'll be feeling okay about that.
Yeah, it looks he's closer. Mackay's closer now to Stewart than he is to.
Now what's just? Hang on, what's just happened to? What's just happened to the 180 car? Michael Stewart's still in it.
Yeah,
I'm trying to work out what's just happened to the gaps that it was picking up there, because all of a sudden...
it's picked up 4th.
Right, okay, there we go. So Nixon has actually just... That's what happens here with our timing. It does start to pick up cars that are much further ahead, and I'm not quite sure why it's decided to look that far ahead for the next person, because obviously Stewart a long way back. from Nixon.
I say SDK doing SDK things.
Yeah, potentially.
It looks like Stewart's come closer now to Heddershide than before as they go through Dandenong Road.
Now, what's interesting here, Heddershide has lost the position. We will just do a quick reload of our overlay here, folks, and hopefully that will sort things out because Heddershide should still be registering as on track. Hasn't been put to pits at this point. There we go. Quick reload fixes everything.
Never mind.
We'll jump in here and I'll see what I can figure out in the background, folks. And should be, I suspect, a reasonably easy fix, generally speaking.
Looks like Healy still trying to hold. I think he's holding the battle pack up too much. Go for turn 6, but surely now he might be playing a bit of a role here.
Yeah, Heddershire's been doing okay in keeping the pace up. Healy, though, again, very, very fresh tyres. So 102 was the pit lap for Craig Healy, so he should have plenty of pace. And right now, get the other way, so Heddershide moves across the other side, Healy stays in. The question is, will Stewart and Mackay make it through? Mackay's a long way back. I don't know if he's actually near the back. Heavy on the brakes from Healy. And I think, yeah, Scott Mackay probably owing Craig Healy a beer at the bar afterwards for that one because he was never going to make it through on that corner otherwise.
I think Healy might have lifted off a little then.
Oh, he was heavy on the brakes early into that corner as well, so
yeah,
probably we just wanted to stay well out of the way. Dean Logsdale, a little further back, he's on the tail of Daniel Snedden from Revolution E-Racing, and down in turn 1, Logsdale late on the brake closes the gap even further. We're at 4/10 right now in the battle for P12. Out in front though, Wayne Walker continuing to just build that lead. Jamie Dyke though in second and looking fairly comfortable with about 15 lap fresher tyres than Walker or Brodie Sentence either side of him. So the Fishy Motorsports number 80 in P2 set up very, very nicely for the end of this race, Isaac, if they stay on track.
They had to do, if needs be, then I think they still may have to do one more stop, and they might stop at that critical lap that you mentioned a few laps ago. We still could be wrong on that.
We're pretty close now, though, aren't we? Ultimately,
yeah.
And this is the thing. Jamie Dyke made his stop on 100. Now, if my mental math is right, and thank you, BG, for the note on mental acuity. If my math is right, then Jamie Dyke's probably only got to get another 20-odd laps out of those set of tyres, which will, it's only going to be 30 laps out of the tyres. That's nice and easy.
Yeah.
He'll be able to extend that. That said, if he doesn't need to do the driver swap, then he can absolutely just push this right to the end, get one more stop in there somewhere around the lap or 140, 150 mark, and have a very, very quick final stop, just enough for fresh tyres and a splash of fuel to get him to the end. And that will set him up beautifully for the run home here in the Sandown 500. Alliance Sim Racing, as always, brought to you by Quantum Tint Solutions and AA West Automotive, also supported by 24/7 Sim Services and Tim Nickel Photography. And of course brought to you by the team here at Simple Racing Broadcast once again. I hope you're enjoying the coverage so far. Isaac, you've obviously seen plenty of various leagues and various racing in your time, both in car and from race control. Tell us a little bit about what it's like for the guys up in race control in a race like this. I mean, we've seen them sorting through some incidents from lap 1, something like 50 laps later. How do you stay on top of that, plus anything new that's actually coming through to the booth?
Sometimes we keep track of these incidents through race control notes that not only we in race control can see, but also what the general public can see. So if there is an incident that's usually called out by the drivers, we would note it out. Note out if it was a race, what lap, what corner, who was involved. Ooh, that was, speaking of almost getting involved.
Very close. Scott Mackay just giving Stewart a bit of a nudge along there. Bit of bump drafting for Supercars, why not?
Bit of a hurry along. And like any drivers who get involved, any like updates, whether it's, it's been looked at, if there's an outcome. Usually there's usually one thing. I've seen a few other people in race control use the good old pen and paper just to write down who's been involved. Normally if we'll go through it several times, like go through all the instances. If it's a lap 1 incident and involves multiple cars, then it will obviously take longer than it should. But then we have to come to basically a mutual agreement on which penalty if it's going to be. If it's going to be a drive-through, it's going to be a time penalty, going to be a racing incident and whatnot. So yeah, that's like, if something like happens, again, during lap 1, and usually lap 1's the one we have the most incidents in throughout my time doing race control for multiple leagues, then obviously it's going to be the one that's going to take the longest to go through.
Yeah, right. So how do you decide? I mean, obviously there's rule books that lay out what sort of penalty is issued for what sort of offence, but just how close are some of these calls when we're talking about, perhaps the difference between a 5-second penalty or a drive-through? How often are those calls just too tight to make a decision on, and you kind of have to flip a coin almost?
It can happen. Like, I think it's just a lot of mitigating factors within it, and also in interpretations of the rule book. Like, one person can interpret the incident one way, another person can interpret it another way. Ooh, that's a little wide. Oh, it might be...
Pushing hard Mackay right on the rear bumper of Stewart right now. He wants to get going and feels like Stewart's holding him up.
Yeah, that's almost an example, like a simple bump and run. Like, if that was a bump and run, then if it didn't happen, then there's a good chance we'll call for a redress. And if the redress doesn't happen, it's a 5-second. Usually, there's a time penalty on top of that. David. He's like being Santa Claus, whether you've been naughty or nice.
Except people generally like Santa Claus, don't they? And
I
can't
think
say that I've heard. Look, drivers are a competitive bunch, and it's certainly rare to see a driver sing the praises of race control. It's usually either they don't say anything about race control, or they're pretty vocal about all the ways in which race control got wrong, right?
Yeah, like, and with quite a few of these leagues, we do like open up appeals, like to see if there was any like mitigating factors that we should have lessen the load on the penalty, overturn a penalty, or let the penalty stand. And again, it's mitigating factors that can differ between a 5-second penalty and a drive-through. Like, I'm going to use another league here, like MC Motorsport. Like, if a driver has lost a significant amount of time after he's been hit, then we basically mitigate, like, kind of almost equal it, or maybe a little bit more, to the offending driver, whether it be 20-second, 30-second, or in some cases a drive-through. Like, if it's...
The drive-through is a pretty rough penalty at a lot of tracks, right? I mean, Sandown's probably not the worst example out there, but I think about Spa with its full pits layout. You're talking a drive-through is almost, a minute and a half. That's a pretty significant one, right?
Yeah, at least it's like half a lap gone to the disadvantaged driver.
So you want to be pretty sure before you hand out that kind of penalty, is what I'm hearing.
Well, in some instances, push comes to shove. If we all come to a mutual agreement that, yep, get this guy drive through, he did wrong, then we'll do it. Easiest pie.
Well, mate, better you than me is all I can say. We're going to go back and take a quick look. KO Fellows just a bit of a moment. There's a bit of an off-track excursion caught around the outside.
Oh.
And manages to pull it up before going into the wall, but not the first time we've seen that little bit of track cut out there. It's a tricky one if you do get the entry wrong. There's a lot of marbles that you can see starting to build up around this track as we get to lap 117 of this race. And
traffic, a lot of live traffic getting involved in now.
yeah, this is dangerous for both Mackay and Stewart. And all it's done is given Headershot an opportunity to open up an extra second in front of them. And this is actually technically speaking. That was interesting. Tactically speaking, you can actually use some of that other traffic from time to time to cause issues for the other driver that you are racing with. As we see Kuznetsov and Fisher side by side down the back straight, Kuznetsov starting to make further progress. Up 18 positions so far into P9, and again making it look pretty easy. Question on who is currently in the 351 car for Accelerate. That is Andrew Rushworth at the moment, just getting around in P19. We'll check in as he makes his way across the line to start lap 117.
He's loadsome. But then again,
let's take correct with lap 116 that the Rushworth is on.
It looks like he's all on his loadsome, but look in the background. That's looks like one of the fishy cars.
He is getting closer and closer to the leaders lapping here. It won't be happening quite yet, but it looks like it might have been. Is that Jane McKnight in the background?
Looks like it is.
McKnight in 7th is very rapidly catching. Meanwhile, Wayne Walker out in front right now and starting to just open up a little bit more of a gap over Jamie Dyke. Again, Dyke at this point has to be feeling those tyres. He's sitting... Oh, what are we talking? You know, lap 100. He's 18 laps in, so they're going to be just starting to fall off a bit before they get their second win. Wayne Walker, though, last pit stop on lap 87. So now, what, 30 lap old tyres, if my math is any good? Probably isn't, to be fair. But Wayne Walker still maintaining a 109.23 around this track. Incredibly quick. As we check the weather once again, track temp now up to 40 degrees, so it's continuing to rise, but not making perhaps as much a difference as we would have expected ordinarily. Damon Fisher's into the pits.
Yeah, normally when the track gets fairly hot, the car starts to get a little slippery because the tyres start getting I think they get a little sticky.
And it's all about, and this is the thing that people often don't realise, is that, you know, it's not a simple calculation that iRacing does. It's not just a temperature that is randomly applied. There are surface temperatures of the tyre that are impacted by things like track temp. There's the core temperature of the tyres, so you know, the pressure that they stay reasonably consistent at. There's a lot that's taken into account, and it's honestly, you start to sit and think about some of the calculations that are going on behind the simulation here, and it's pretty impressive. Do we have... Come on, BG, give me a challenge. Do we have a pit lap? Of course we do. In fact, I can even show you the last lap that they pitted and how long they spent in the pits. So there you go. Have some more info for you to take a bit of a look over. So plenty of drivers that have made pit stops this side of lap 100. Interestingly enough, Patterson back in 24th, last pitted on lap 79, so 40 laps now on those tyres, going for the full stint, obviously. Walker, lap 87, Headershot, lap 80. Mackay and Stewart, both with slightly newer tyres. Mackay is certainly much newer than Stewart's. But Kuznetsov and Blacklock, both on 112, 113, so very, very fresh tyres there. You'd have to expect them to make a run to the end from this point. And whether that's going to be enough to bring them up into podium contention.
Michael Stewart's in.
So Michael Stewart comes in. Time for a bit of a changeover there. We'll see if Matt Vanderkran's about to get back in the car. Down in front, Wayne Walker making his way past lap traffic again. 12.5 seconds back, Jamie Dyke, the Fishy Castrol entry.
I'm a bit of a sucker for these Castrol liveries. I
They
love
always
the
look
old.
good, don't they?
It's like the Sawtooth livery is just absolutely iconic. I think that's definitely the Perkins Engineering livery. I've seen it on I think it's a door slammer around the same era as the Perkins Racing Commodores. It's just anything with the Sawtooth livery. It's
Just takes you back to your childhood, doesn't it? Watching Supercars and just having those drivers to idolise. And I imagine there's a bunch of kids out there now who are watching drivers and give them, well, not even 10 years, and they'll be looking for the same kind of liveries that they've been watching. As we see Simon Hersscheid finally coming in.
could this be an undercut?
Stop. Yeah, it could be, and 40 laps to go. That's well within distance of the finish. So it'll be interesting to see where Hersscheid comes out. So Dean Logsdale won't have to pit again. Look, that's going to be a big stretch, BG. Last pit on lap 95.
He must have fueled that car to the very top.
Only spent 36 seconds in the pit bay, so that's going to be a big stretch to not have to pit unless he's fuel saving. Question is he going to save enough by skipping that pit stop to actually bring up the order? And that's always the gamble.
It's probably gambling for a safety car too.
Well, could happen. 40 laps or slightly under 40 laps to go. Been pretty clean so far, but everyone starts to push at about this point. Who knows? I don't want to bring it on, but it's always possible. Kuznetsov continues to improve position here, up 20 from the start. Has had a stellar drive.
That's not bad. 20 positions from almost basically Stone Motherless last.
Yeah, it's not ideal. No, the 16 car BG I'm seeing pitted on lap 95. Now that said, if you're talking now this is where it gets this is where we've gotten ourselves confused here, BG. Car 016, Chad Vigar, you're absolutely right, pitted on lap 117. Seriously, race admin, who allowed zeros in front? Spot on. Lap 117 was the last pit, so Chad can absolutely run to the end from there pretty comfortably. So if we start to look at pretty much anyone who's pitted, you'd have to think from about lap 110 onwards, they should be able to get away without another pit. So Kuznetsov right now in 7th won't need another pit. Then Blacklock behind him, pitted on 113. Michael Stewart on 119 we saw just go in. Brian Minogue down in 14th at the moment, pitted on 120, so he can make the end. As can Vigar back in 16th, pitted on 117. Will Buchanan pitted on 119 back in 18th, but being a lap down, probably a little too far gone to make anything much back from it. As we see Rick Vigar in the Angry Birds 14 entry, just hassling Troy Sippel as always. These two lads go at it. This is contact. So close. Sippel going very defensive and Vigar pushing hard. These guys know each other well. They race hard regularly, and it almost came very, very much undone for Sippel there. They're going to be side by side. Nudge. Sippel puts Vigar into the wall. That's going to attract the attention of race control, I'm sure, even if Sippel redresses here. That is just a little bit of red mist, I think, descending. As Sippel is going to redress, he's just going to keep moving and stay out of the way of traffic. But that's going to be a drive-through for sure.
100%. You can see it brewing for it's coming to the pits.
Is he going to do a preemptive drive-through? Is that what we're seeing here? I don't know that he can get away with that somehow. No, he's coming to make the pit stop, get the damage fixed up, and get underway.
Yeah, they both came, but no, that was brewing for a little while. You can see that.
There was a lot going on there, and look, not the first time those two have pushed each other very, very hard on a racetrack. It's all in good fun, but there's that little bit of red mist you could see getting in there.
Yeah, not really ideal, to be completely honest.
No, it's not. But hey, it makes for good viewing on our end, doesn't it?
It does. It does, yeah.
So a driver change for both of them. Dylan Sippel now coming out in the number 17 Quantum Racing, and Nick Heusler behind the wheel of the Angry Birds Racing number 14. A big moment there, Logan Barnett. We saw that from him, and you saw that in a couple of the highlights from the qualifying races. Barnett really pushing the limits of grip in this car. And yeah, just seems to have more lives than a cat, the number of times he's saved some of these slides. So brilliant car control, but really needs to stop putting himself in those positions. It just keeps costing him time as Scott Mackay pulls away to a 7/10 gap.
Yeah, like at this point you need to try and sell and like try and wind yourself back to Mackay. Like,
Oh, 100%.
don't try to over. I think what caught him there is he overdrove the car a little bit. Maybe got the braking marker wrong. Got maybe something out of the way. But seeing a message there, I think that's Aiden Kale.
It is Aiden Kale. Aiden, how you doing, mate? Glad to see you checking on in. Yeah, look, it was a... it's one for race control to deal with, and I'm very glad to not be in the race control tent right now. They can figure that one out. I'm leaving that one well alone, mate.
Yeah, same. Even though I do race control myself, I'm going to leave it to them.
Yep. Hand that one off.
I've had my opinion, and looks like they're back at it again.
Heusler and Sippel continue this battle for 18th, and both of these teams. Nick Heusler's no slouch, but perhaps lacking a little bit of recent race experience compared to Sippel, who was a bit more active in the season. And look at how close Sippel is behind Heusler right now. A little bit of a nudge as well into Pertec corner. These guys are going to continue this, and you've got to think that Sippel is just waiting for that call from race control to advise them of the penalty. He needs to stick with him, but yeah, you've got to be expecting a call soon, surely.
At least. Whoa. That's quite a bit of grass coming into turn 6. I wouldn't be braving myself as... he's off!
Heusler's into the wall. Dylan Sippel makes contact.
Not again.
Into the wall goes Heusler. Well, what do we make of that?
Leave it to race control.
Leaving that one to race control again.
Oh, man.
Brad, if you're just joining us, we'll go back and we'll take a look at that one just quickly. So Heusler and Sippel just really getting into it out of the chicane. Sippel late on the brakes, gives a nudge. Not intentional, just very, very hard braking, and Heusler's into the wall there. That's, yeah, wow.
Yeah, race control's going to have a real hard look between those two incidents, because I'll try not to say too much, but I reckon we were going to see either a drive-through or one or two of those cars getting parked.
Yeah, you've got to wonder. You've got to wonder. And look, if we do go back and take another look at the original incident, here it is for you, Brad. This was following on.
Yeah, he pretty much turned almost hard left.
Yeah, it was an interesting one, to say the least. I'm going to see if we can find the original a little further back. Let's go back a little further, because this has been brewing since quite a way back. Perhaps a little bit too far back here, but let's jump forward a little. This is where Stewart's come past. I think after that issue, perhaps. But there's been plenty brewing with both of them. So this again, look, there was a lot of argy-bargy on the back straight ahead of that. We might see if we can just jump back a little further. Bear with us. Here we go. So this was. Oh, we do have to go back even further. I'm going to find this for you, folks, because it's well worth checking out.
It started brewing like this might be it. It started brewing coming out of turn. It was out of turn 5. So
this is pretty well. This is pretty well it. So this is Vigard catching up to Sippel. So watch Sippel just ahead here. Vigard gets a really good drive out of the corner, and the back straight is where it all started to kick off.
So
I wonder if this is perhaps a lap too early. It looks like it might be. But we'll get back to the action, folks. But suffice to say that there will be some conversations being had in race control right now as to what to do with all of that. Meanwhile, would you believe Logan Barnett has had another big moment and
That might
again
explain-
saves it.
That might explain the time marks that we saw before we head to the replay. He's
Oh,
had
a big step out as well as he pushes it again. Barnett just trying everything. David Coleman now back in the car. Jamie Dyke doing a brilliant job throughout that stint. Coleman's here to finish it off, and he gets out just ahead of Kuznetsov as they come into turn one. But of course, David Coleman's going to be on very cold tyres.
Wayne Walker's in.
So Walker's coming in. That's going to be a fairly quick stop. It's not going to be enough time for these guys to get all the way around. It just shows how far ahead Wayne Walker and Greg Favell have put that accelerated endurance.
Logan Barnett is coming out of Dandenong Road. He's about to get into the turn 1-2 complex.
He's got to be thinking about tyres or something, the way it's behaving. He's only on to 25 laps though of those tyres, so they're still pretty clean. Here's Favell. You can see him just exiting the pits ahead. So here comes Barnett.
This will be close. Does he get him? Oh,
Not quite, but here's David Coleman further back. No, Logan Barnett has got him.
Oh, he's got him.
Got him at the exit. So Greg Favell right there. He'll have fuel to the end. David Coleman in third will have fuel to the end. Logan Barnett is going to need to pit one more time. His last lap into the pits was on 105. He's not going to have quite enough fuel to get to the end. So realistically, this is Favell and Coleman now. So watch P2 and P3. Coleman's got 15 seconds to make up. That's a big ask.
That is a big ask.
The real surprise package here, though, might be Rick Kuznetsov, though. He's sitting in fourth, pitted on lap 112. He's got enough to get to the end. Just.
Hey, he's got Coleman right in front of him in the fishy Camaro. So if you're going to start really making a move, speaking of moves, that's the move for in the top 10.
Got Gamble just making his way past Stewart up into P7. Again, making it look easy, but it's not often that you see get the pass done and then across to the edge of the track like that. He had so much more pace down that main straight.
100%. He's a lot more momentum, and I think Stewart, knowing that he wouldn't be able to fight, just had decided to throw up the white flag and say, "Yep, go by me. I'll stay behind you."
Yeah, indeed. Matty just checking in on the second time was Dylan Sickle in the car. Correct. So first time around, the contact coming out of the complex and towards the last chicane was Troy Sipple and Rick Varga in the car. They both came into the pits, a swap over for Nick Heusler and Dylan Sipple getting into the car as well. And then Sipple just too late on the braking into the back end of Heusler and putting him into that right-hand side wall. So, look, different drivers in the car, but same bit of beef going on.
Yeah, I got a feeling that's probably not a case of a bit of friendly banter. Like, I wouldn't think you would.
It was pretty hot, wasn't it? A pretty red mist kind of moment.
Yeah, a little hot under the collar there between Whistler there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's another pass. Was that for position?
It was Whiting getting past Minogue. Can he hold on to it? Absolutely can. Shut the door again as they come through and towards Pertec corner. So Michael Whiting moving up into P9. We'll keep an eye on a couple of these moves. Most of the field fairly spaced out, but out in front, right behind those two, in fact. This is just how far around the leaders are. That's Logan Barnett and Greg Favell right behind. So Barnett has nothing in it, but he's going to try and use these cars that are now lapped down to just hold Favell at bay for a little longer. Logan Barnett's got a lot of work to do. Let's see if he's actually got the tyres and the control to hold him off. I doubt it. Favell has been so quick all day. He's already closed this down to less than 3/10.
Yeah, I would say Favell's on fresher tyres. I think Barnett, those tyres going to start screaming a little bit, but it looks like a little better exit there for Barnett as we go down the front straight start lap number 133.
And this is the thing, if Barnett had any thoughts of fuel saving to make it to the end on a longer stint, given that he did fuel up on 105, Again, coming back to Jamie McKnight's advice, 51 laps from a full tank. That's going to leave Barnett about 5 or 6 laps short of what he needs to get to the end at full noise. And given where Greg Favell is right now, Barnett can't afford to fuel save if he wants to take the win. He's going to have to think about fuel saving to stay in the hunt for the podium. And hopefully hold off David Coleman, who's 14 seconds behind now. But that gap is falling.
It is, and looking at the lap times too, Barnett did a 109.2, while Favell did a 109.048. But looking in third, David Coleman, he's done an 8.8, but he's quite a fair way back. So, this could be on
takes a
here.
big look up the inside. Barnett shuts the door. Probably not as early as he should have though, because Favell's going to take that as an invitation next time around. If he doesn't make a pass here at the end of the main straight, here comes Favell. 0.26 behind. Can he make the dive under brakes, or is he going to wait till next time round?
If we'll have to wait next time around, I don't think he...
Not close enough just yet, is he?
No.
And again, doesn't need to risk the car at this point. He knows Barnett cannot make it to the end on fuel. Oh, a big moment in the background.
What was that?
That was Brian Minogue, the fully served United SLS Racing, gets it back on track, but he's alongside for the full throttle bandits.
Billy went spinning around.
Just getting it cleaned up there. Only just. Now Favell within 2/10. He's right on the back of Logan Barnett. Is he going to make this? Is he going to make the pass here? Or is he just going to hold in there and put the pressure on until Barnett sends himself off the track?
If I was Favell, I would try and stay as close to Barnett as you can. No, there's a couple of passing zones here. You just went past it down on road. We've got this little complex up here. If you have a better run, then take it. But I think for him, logically, if he gets a better exit out here, you should try and make the pass at turn 1. As I think, looking at the gap, definitely is the case.
Hayden Sykes, the day goes from bad to worse from you. Gangatanga's lucky to keep it out of the wall. Just a light nudge there. Thankfully, he's going to be able to get that going, and we're not going to see a safety car at this late stage yet. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'd like to get to the end without another one if we can.
Well, I don't mind a safety car. Why don't we why don't we spice things up? Just have a little.
You're here for that 4-lap sprint to the end, aren't you? That's what you're here to see, either.
Yes.
Why not? Why not?
Why not? Absolute cinema.
A massive congratulations to Aidan Kale and Brad Rat. Bit of a proposal going on in the chat, and marriage on the way by the sound of things. Love to hear it, guys. Well done. Greg Favell still not putting the pass on Logan Barnett. Again, Favell doesn't need to make this pass. All he needs to do is hold off David Coleman behind. And Barnett is putting in enough pace that Coleman's going to have very little hope of catching them over the next 25 or so laps. It is a very, very big gamble for Coleman to be able to get there. Michael Stewart's had a big moment. Big off there. Go back and we'll see if we can catch what's just happened to Stewart. But it looks like just on the outside, maybe catches the marbles, can't get it pulled up.
Yeah, at the front left, front right, sorry, locked up. And the moment he got onto the marbles, that was all over Red Rover.
Nothing he could do.
No.
Favell's actually starting to drop away a little bit here. I wonder if he's listening into the commentary and decided, you know what, I'm just going to settle on in. Logan Barnett's still turning, low to mid 109s. Their time last time around 109.56 and 109.58 for Barnett and Favell, respectively. Coleman though 108.5s. So if he continues to pull a second a lap out of these guys, he's going to get them.
Well, at least. Well, I think it's happened, and Vettel,
Barnett's in.
Barnett's in.
It had to happen. He needed to make another stop, and really probably didn't need the additional pressure. So that's going to be a reasonably quick stop. Doesn't need a huge amount of fuel, but Coleman will make it through. He'll take second place, and now his job is simple: hunt down Greg Favell and get this job done with 24 laps to go or thereabouts. We're getting closer.
We are definitely getting closer. But I think the question is, can Coleman get up to Favell? And I think the answer could be possible. There's like a definite 4/10 difference between the last laps. Fevell did a 109.4, Coleman's did a 9 flat. So
It'll be
it's
interesting
not
to see, right, what Fevell can actually do without Barnett in front of him.
Yeah, and I think what's also happened is that Fevell may have had his tyres torched from, battling as hard as he has with Barnett. So there's a possibility that those tyres may have overheated a little. So it might take a little while for the tyres to potentially cool down.
Don't count out Rick Kuznetsov either. He's still hanging in there. He's only a couple of seconds off the back of Coleman. A stellar drive from the 9.5 SimSport 888. Currently up 24 positions from where they started. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I don't believe that they didn't actually qualify at all. So they've started at the back of the pack today and just trusted in their pace all day and their race strategy. And right now, it's got them on track for a podium. What a phenomenal day of racing.
I understand it's the last podium challenge, if anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
As looks like that's McKnight ahead of Fevell. Not really causing too much grief, I wouldn't think. So.
No, McKnight's still got some decent pace.
Yeah, it definitely has pace on him. He's no slouch behind the wheel. Been around the iRacing scene for quite a while now. So I think a lot of people would know how McKnight drives. Before I saw something interesting there, but no, not to be the case. The valve still, I'd say he's pretty much locked in behind McKnight for as long as he can.
It's actually Michael Whiting in the car at the moment, I should point out. So Whiting I haven't seen quite as much of, but from what we've seen today, again, has a decent amount of pace. Further up the road though, Jason Benson, Michael Stewart, Quantum Racing and Angry Birds Racing. You see this so often with Alliance Sim Racing. These two teams, the founding teams of the league, they love to go at it. And right now, Benson Stewart, again, just putting in some pretty quick laps, both in the 109s quite comfortably. And just taking a look ahead, Greg Fevell, that last lap of 109.2 to David Coleman's 109.14. Without Barnett in front, Fevell's been able to lift the pace, and I think if he can keep that up, he's going to feel pretty comfortable in finishing ahead of David Coleman at this stage.
Yeah, but don't count out a safety car.
Well, I mean, anything's possible, right? 21 laps to go. Sandown 500 continues. It's been phenomenal racing all day today. These guys will be getting tired. They'll be looking forward to that post-race beverage of choice, whatever that might be for each of them. Take a look back to Kai Ardley, the Full Throttle Bandits entry, trying to chase down Mick Clifton, the 351 Accelerate Endurance. And, these guys find themselves much closer together at this point than they probably expected to be. Less than a second separating them here in the battle for 16th.
Definitely two abstracts between the two Liquid Death cars.
Yeah, right. Very, very different looking. And interesting, I've got to wonder, and I don't know if we've got any representatives in the chat still, but I do wonder if the two different team names mean much, or if there was a bit of collaboration between them to make sure they had the alternative colours lined up between Full Throttle Bandits and Uganga Tangus Racing. One more time for you, Aiden. It's a mouthful. It really is.
It is.
Michael Whiting now keeping an eye on the rear view, because Dan Hall from Evolution Racing has been just sneaking ever so slightly closer. The tyres pretty evenly matched here. Dan Hall taking his on 129, Michael Whiting 127. So yeah, Whiting's just going to have to keep an eye on the rear view. Hall's just taken a quarter of a second out of him through that complex. So definitely the pace here that Hall wants. And he might be staring down the opportunity to just improve by one, get up into 8th for the end of this race in just about, let's call it 23 minutes time. there or thereabouts.
There or thereabouts, yeah.
If it ends up being exactly 23 minutes, it's not a case of amazing mental math all of a sudden for me, folks. It's the best guess I could come up with.
Good old Nostradamus here.
Yeah, right? Benson Stewart continue their battle. Hayden Sykes having all sorts of issues in the background with the Ugangatanga's car. We'll go back and take a look and see what's happened. A big moment. Somehow he's managed to keep it from hitting the walls, but geez, that was a close one. And I do wonder if that's come from just overcooking the tyres here just before that. So I think he's running on some less than ideal tyres at this point.
And they did their pit on lap 110, so I think their tyres will be not only scream for mercy, but they'll be absolutely wounded from those little spins.
Yeah, you'd have to be thinking it. Like at this point, just get it to the end in one piece, surely.
Yeah, surely. And like from that first spin, the tyres would be overheated quite a bit, so it takes them quite a bit for them to come back to temp. So I reckon they're thinking...
Yeah, run down the straight is not going to be enough time.
No. And plus, the throttle responses on these cars are, like...
instant.
Yeah, they're pretty touchy. So I wonder if they've tried to slam on the accelerator quick and not realised that these cars almost have, like, an instant throttle reaction. So when the moment you... excuse me. Yeah, the moment you... try and get on the throttle, the car will just spin, and that's coming from and that's coming from experience too.
Yeah, Aiden Cale, how much to convince ASR to include TCRs? If you mean in a multi-class race with Gen 3s, you don't have enough money to convince them of that. If you mean as a separate series, you definitely don't have enough money to convince them of that. ASR are absolutely a bunch of Gen 3 supercar or V8 supercar generally addicts. I know there has been some conversation around whether there might be a Super 2 category being offered at some point in the near future. So we might see that added to the ASR list of races, but nothing confirmed just yet. You'll have to stick around and find that out. Bit of an update from Mitchell as well on the Ugangatangas. Something's wrong with Aiden's pedals. Yeah, it certainly didn't look right to me at all. Just not pulling up as they should, and that, well, there was that little off-track excursion into the Dunlop chicane there. Shouldn't have been enough to cause the issues just a couple of corners later, so that explains a few things. Best of luck. It's not been a good day for you Ugangatangas today, I know, Mitchell, but good on you guys for hanging in there and actually getting to the end of this race.
No further action between 868 and 543.
So that was the Quantum Racing 868 coming together with Scott Gamble's Evolution Racing Team 543. I don't think we actually saw that one.
Don't think, yeah. So
18 cornflake bowls, definitely not enough, Aiden.
so I got a theory that the incident between Sipple and Osler might be looked at post-race. But
I suspect that's going to be a big post-race one.
Yeah,
and, I don't blame race control for parking that one very much to the side and coming back to it later. I do note though that if you take a look at the timing tower, the number 17 car is currently out, so I wonder if they've made that decision themselves. In any case, the race continues on. Jason Benson's into the pits, so unfortunately the battle that he was involved in there, no longer able to keep with it. He's going to have to make that final pit stop to get to the end. Michael Whiting and Dan Hall still at it for 7th. And let's jump ahead though, because we said don't count Rick Kuznetsov out just yet. He is right on the tail of David Coleman. Coleman's been caught behind this traffic for a little while now. And all of a sudden, less than half a second between second and third, the gap to Favel's starting to open up. At this stage, you have to say that Favel's got this one wrapped up, barring any incident. The question will be who takes P2. Coleman will be watching the mirror. He's going to try and use the traffic here to just hold Kuznetsov off a little longer. It's not going to work, though. Traffic being far too kind, getting out of the way, and it means that they'll continue on. Well, that was probably a little bit closer than Kuznetsov would have liked that car to be to the rear end.
A little too close for comfort there.
Look, this is one of the great things about sim racing, right? The risk there is okay, sure, you might ruin someone's race, but you're not actually going to put a real person into the wall.
No.
So small miracles of sim racing compared to the real deal. Have a look at the marble build-up we're getting on the outside of these corners now, though. Huge amount of rubber starting to build up there. It's going to be so risky for anyone to try a move around the outside or even pushing someone offline at this point. The track is very, very built up.
It'll be very, very loose in those little marble areas. We've seen it a few times over the course of the race, and given how big the build-up is now, I wouldn't try my luck.
No, absolutely not.
Because if you have a mistake here and you're battling for a position, that's it. That you've sacrificed your position. As we see, Kuznetsov.
Bit of a look up the inside, just testing and probing, see where the gaps might be in Coleman's driving. We know Coleman can defend, so he's probably pretty comfortable for the moment. But that gap has closed right up. We're down to 3/10. Let's see if Coleman starts to take defensive lines from here. He's going to have to really think about it soon, because at this point he can't be thinking about P1.
No, P1's out of the question.
I mean, look, Pavel could crash. It could happen, and I'm going to feel so bad if he does now that I've said it.
There could be a safety car.
There could be as well. But again, we've got, 14 laps to run? It seems so unlikely at this stage that we're going to see a change in the lead, and that's been a phenomenal drive from R217. Greg Pavel's done an absolutely stellar job all day, as has Wayne Walker. And it really just backs up from their performance in qualifying races, taking P2 in both of them. Both very, very strong drivers. The dark horse here, absolutely Kuznetsov, and we didn't see them participate in qualifying at all. So starting from the back today, I can't, assuming it finishes even how it is now, but especially if Kuznetsov does manage to take Coleman here, you've got to give Sentence and Kuznetsov the drive of the day in the 9.5 Sim Sport 888, because they've come from the back of the field to a podium position, and they've done it seemingly with ease.
Yeah, these guys are they are very experienced in racing. They race in a lot of leagues in Australia, like a lot of bigger leagues too. So I reckon they'll know what they're doing. They know where their car is, what position they should be in.
They've handled the strategy brilliantly, haven't they?
Yeah, 100%. They've they've strategized it very well, and look at them, they're almost in P2, just waiting for the right moment to strike.
And a shout out, of course, to Sam Blacklock, the Nixon Blacklock entry, just behind them as well. I did see them getting called out in chat. They're up 17 positions as well, so they've certainly not been hanging around. So that's third and fourth, big movers. Broadly speaking, the rest of the field not massively different from where they started. As we take a look at the gains and losses across almost 500 Ks of Sandown now, as we start to get down to almost counting in single digits the number of laps remaining. There's been a couple of big movers up the field, and very few big movers down the field. Most of them have just been a couple positions here and there, which makes the performance from Kuznetsov, from Blacklock and their co-drivers all the more impressive to have continued shifting through so many of their competitors. Have a look at this. Coleman, very, very clever, just using that other driver. Yep, absolutely. Use the side draft, makes it difficult for Kuznetsov to make a move.
Yeah, and we've seen even in real life supercars, the side draft is super strong, as it looks like the
Ugangan again.
Oh, they've had a mare of a race. This will be a race to forget for the team.
Look, you know what? A good experience, and absolutely the what's the right name that we should give the award for them? I suppose the most committed to finishing, because I certainly would have given it up a long time ago, I reckon, with the race they've had. Big slide from Coleman. That gives you an idea of just how hard he has actually been pushing. Is this the gap? Oh, a little bit of a nudge there from Kuznetsov. It's all on now. We're getting down to 11 laps to go. And Kuznetsov is starting to think about making this move into P2.
Yeah, I reckon that was the physical warning saying, hey, I'm here, I'm ready to fight.
What do we see into turn one now, though? Is Coleman going to go defensive? We still haven't seen him even start to use defensive lines at this point. He's still feeling fairly confident that he's got the outright pace. Kuznetsov, a big look up the inside. Coleman's going to end up on the outside of this one. Can he pull it back in? He's not. There it is. Coleman now has all the work to do.
But look at the gap between Kuznetsov and Favel. That's nearly 14.5 seconds. I wouldn't even worry about going trying to push to P1.
No, what we're watching now is the gap to Coleman. Does that open up further? With Kuznetsov actually released a bit here and starts to open it. Coleman's starting to reel him in ever so slightly. It's not going to be enough to challenge this lap.
No.
But Kuznetsov's got some serious pace.
Yeah. It's but the last bit at 112, so they must have conserved the tyres as much as they did for the right moment for them to really,
Well, these are 40-lap-old tyres. That's...
Yeah.
To try and make a move like that on tyres that old is bold, to say the least. Coleman's on tyres that are half the age, only just over 20 laps old, so perhaps Coleman can afford to push them a bit faster, a bit harder now, but as it stands, Kuznetsov started to open it up already. It's almost a second now. So he's picked up another couple of tenths on that lap. Their last laps comparatively, Kuznetsov at 9.16, Coleman at 10.34. Let's see what the next one brings. Poor old Leighton Sykes.
Another moment.
Look, he's just gotten out of the way, and that's about all that he can do there. It's just pull it over and wait for the traffic to come through so he doesn't cause any issues. And here we go, Kuznetsov out to a second now and climbing.
Yeah, what I'm seeing here is it's a very SVG type of tyre management. Like, you conserve the tyres as much as you can, and then when you have to push, you can switch it on almost in an instant.
That's exactly what he's done at this point. Coleman just doesn't have any answers.
No, because even though he's been on fresher tyres, those tyres would be almost cooked because of how much he's been trying to defend.
There we go. Jamie Dyke dropping into the chat. And that's
it.
Yeah, look, I'm not surprised to hear that, Jamie. I think the worst thing that could happen for David Coleman right now would be to push for that one extra position and end up taking themselves out of the race altogether with less than 10 laps to go. In this sort of competition, in amongst drivers of this standard, you're not arguing with a P3 versus a P2.
Nah, 100%.
That's something to be super proud of, super happy with. The ones that are still battling though, Whiting and Hall right now for 7th. This gap has been pretty consistent for the last few laps. Just been keeping an eye on it, waiting for a change, and it looks like Hall's just about ready to try something on here. Whiting's been able to hold him off so far, but the gap has just been coming down slowly but surely with every lap. We're now within 10 laps of the finish of this Sandown 500, and we'll have to see if Whiting can hold him off. The tyres are about the same age. The amount of fuel on board should be more or less identical at this point. The only question will be, does Whiting have the pace to hold him off and hang on to P7?
I would think so.
Big ask.
But
big ask.
It is a big ask, but who knows in this stage?
Keep an eye on it. Jumping back further as well, Chad Vigar has caught Brian Minogue, and he's looking to get into the top 10. Now, Minogue, look, spent a long time in the pits on that last stop, which is interesting. Maybe a little bit of damage to repair, and maybe some damage still on the car. 1 minute and 12 in the pit lane, 50 seconds in the box. At lap 120, he shouldn't have needed that much fuel. So the question is, why was he in the pit for so long? Was it repairs? And is that going to cost him some pace here? Because Chad Vigar is on the hunt, 3 tenths back. He's got an opportunity to go one spot better.
Well, could be. He could have used his fast repair earlier in the race, and since it wasn't the case, since he already used that fast repair, depending on how many fast repairs you get in the race, then you might have used them all up.
This driver's only getting 2 fast repairs for this one, so very easy to see how that could have been used long before now with some of the incidents we've seen here today. We're down to 7 laps to go. Greg Favell almost 14 seconds out in front. Kuznetsov, no hope of catching him at this stage. David Coleman just maintaining that 1 second gap at the moment. It looks like we're getting closer and closer to having this decided, but hey, that 3-lap sprint is not completely off the cards yet. As Vigar goes past Minogue, Minogue just cannot hold it there. And in the background, one of the The Orbit Cars is looking to push through as well. Bit of contact there, but nothing much to it.
No.
Not a battle for position either, interestingly.
Yeah, the top 4 are currently on the lead lap.
If we take a look, that's Sam Blacklock just charging through to try and close the gap to David Coleman in front. 6 seconds now. That's going to be a massive ask. So Blacklock's got it all to do, but again, a P4 won't be a bad finish by any stretch. Just don't know if he's going to have the pace at this stage.
Yeah, I don't think so. With these amount of laps to go, I think at this moment you think I would say you'll be more than happy to finish in 4th.
I don't know if any of these guys are ever happy to finish without at least trying for their next position, right? And that's what makes them so good at this, is they're always pushing just that little bit harder for that extra 10th. But it does come down to risk management. Again, I think Jamie Dyke's probably on the money there, as he tends to be. A finish at this point in your current position is a lot better than putting it into a wall and ending your race so close to the end.
Yeah, with like over the years, you see so many drivers, push for like different things, like push for the win, push for the championship, and have it all just slip away, right, like almost mere seconds when you thought you've won the title.
Yeah, that's way more heartbreaking than an early crash. You put in 500 k's of racing across just over 3 hours now, and there you go, Jamie Dyke. They've done the numbers. They'll be leading the endurance championship if they can finish where they are right now. So playing the long game, it's not surprising to see from Fishy Motorsports, always thinking outside of the immediate. And Coleman just quite comfortably cruising along there in 3rd. Blacklock 5.5 seconds back, 5 laps to go. We've got to be calling this pretty close. And yes, spot on, Jamie. A podium is absolutely a good finish. Can't argue with that in the slightest.
Yeah, 100%. Like I wouldn't be mad if I finish on the podium.
No, the podium of any endurance race is an absolute feat.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Dan Hall just can't seem to find the way through here, can he? Whiting is doing just enough to hold on, or Hall's saving it all for a last lap mad dash. I don't know which it is at this point. We're going to stick with it and see what we see.
I think Whiting has got that Camaro as wide as he can, and wide enough to know that Dan's kind of hit that bit of dirty air behind that Camaro.
And it makes a huge difference for braking, particularly. It extends your braking distance by a significant amount, and really that's what's keeping Whiting where he is at the moment. It's a really tough truck to pass on. Only a couple of really good opportunities under brakes. You're not going to get passes done through most of the corner complexes otherwise, but it is all about setting up the corner exits to have the best shot at the end of the straight here. And you can see Hall just doing everything he can to stay in what little aero is available, closing down just a couple of hundredths here and there, but it's just not enough. You've got to get it done under brakes here. That's the only opportunity to get to close these gaps right up. And you can see there, Hall immediately does that. It's almost a 10th out. But Whiting gets a better drive, extends it straight away. It's just back and forth, back and forth. Neither of these drivers giving an inch. They're both running still at this point. We're talking almost 500 Ks into this Sandown race. They're still running mid-nines. That said, Greg Favell out in front, a 9.2 on his last lap. He is pushing so hard.
Yeah, it's that 14-second that gap basically has kept stable since Rick made that pass on Gorman. So, and
which again, like Rick is not hanging around. A 109.44 in the last lap, dealing with some traffic here and there as well. A big moment there for the 242. That's Kurt Nommensen. Kurt Nommensen's had a big moment. Is that going to bring on the safety car?
Oh, would you risk it? Would you risk it with only like
the curb into the wall?
Bang!
The motor doesn't look done, but can he get it going again? It's still moving, so we might. Oh, what a spot! What a spot to be trapped. That's
close.
Very close from Nommensen.
Oh,
Just slowly backing it out of there.
yeah, I
And
don't
he's,
think
he's going to get it. He's going to get it rolling. He's just waiting on traffic, so it looks like the car's still going. We don't look like we've got a safety car just yet, and I think
No.
we'll finish this without it, which is looking in some ways a little disappointing. A one-lap sprint to the finish could have been cool, but thankfully these drivers aren't going to have the last 490 odd Ks deleted from Mattering.
No.
Tell you what, very lucky though that no one's collected him, because that is a very, very blind corner. Those walls hide absolutely everything as you come through that one.
It's the same with Sandown Road. Like the arm code, just kind of like where it is. You can't really see what's happening around there until like the moment you come out of the corner.
Yeah,
Like,
you've got no hope of seeing it. You've got to rely on the flags and your teammate to tell you where to be on track. But even then, I mean, when Nobbington's taking up the entire width of the track and trying to decide whether to go forwards, go backwards, very, very lucky.
Yeah, very lucky. Very lucky it didn't cause a bigger accident.
100%. 100%. Whiting and Hall continue their battle. Out in front, Greg Favell, just all day today, between Favell and of course Wayne Walker. Between the two of them, the pace has just been so consistent, and their best lap at 108.6, not even necessarily the fastest on track today, but they have continued to lap at right around the 109.10s for almost 500 kilometres now. About to come around to get the white flag, and this is going to be an incredibly well-deserved win for both of them. It's been the epitome of endurance driving. It's been consistency, it's been just enough pace, and to boot, a great pit strategy has landed them exactly where they are right now.
100%. They have not put a foot wrong the entire race. They went when they went, and well, standing on the front row does.
Look at how it keeps you out of the way of the mess, right? There's the white flag. Yeah. So we're on to the final lap for Greg Favell. At this point, 14 seconds out in front, he's going to be feeling pretty comfortable.
Yeah, I would cruise at this point. Like, you know, you've got that massive gap. I think he's just cruising at this point. Last lap was a 109.1.
Still pushing.
It's still.
That's how do you even begin to recognise that sort of consistency? And look, it's something that we've said before often here while watching these drivers. These guys don't know how to drive slow, and in fact they end up making more mistakes by trying to drive slower than if they just stay consistently at that race pace and trust the strategy they've put in play.
Oh, 100%.
And Michael Whiting just sitting in front at the moment of Greg Favell, but Favell's about to come through these corners for one last time. A huge effort. The Alliance Sim Racing Endurance Championship Round 2, the Sandown 500, begins to draw to a close, and Greg Favell brings it across the line. Wayne Walker will be cheering on from the pits. A massive win for the Accelerated Endurance entry. What a drive. Absolutely amazing. Here comes Rick Kuznetsov, and again, awesome drive from him. And in the background, you can see David Coleman coming across and taking the podium. The top three, huge drive. Blacklock across in fourth as well. A fantastic showing, you've got to say, from the Orbit team there as well. Huge race. A Sandown 500 is always tough. A little bit of celebration there from Kuznetsov, and well deserved. As they start to make their way on down, and they'll start to just jump off track now. But Greg Favell, huge effort, and I'm sure we'll be speaking to both him and Wayne in just a moment. Let's see if he's going to just use up the last of those tyres, or if he's actually out of fuel. Just how close have they cut that, I wonder.
Looks like he's not moved. I wonder if he's... Oh, got a bit of movement. But yeah, these two are just never put a foot wrong the entire race, and got the pit stops right, got the strategy right. Just when they needed to be up the front, and they did it. And a dominant victory for both of them.
No other words for it. Absolutely no other words for it.
How can you even describe how perfect it is?
Yeah, they've both got to be so happy with that outcome. Greg Favell, a well-deserved celebration for him as he uses the last of the rubber on those tyres. The Accelerate Endurance 217 entry, the winner in the end, 95 Sim Sport coming home in second, 10 seconds further back, and Fishy Motorsports taking out third, followed by Orbit Drop Bear Motorsport, 18 seconds back from the winner. And then, of course, 95 Sim Sports and Angry Birds Racing at 180, both finishing there on the lead lap before the remainder of the field started to roll on through. And look, a massive effort from all of the teams right throughout today. Really, considering the start that we had, I'm impressed that we didn't actually see more than the one safety car, because that's some of the hardest driving I've seen from any of the drivers so far, not just in the Endurance Championship, but across the ASR V8 Supercars series. Really just took it to another level a lot of the way through there. And I just don't even know. I don't even know what to make of it. I can't wait for the Bathurst 1000 for round 3, Isaac.
Me neither. It's going to be insane.
Everyone loves a Bathurst 1000 after all, and it'll certainly attract, I'm sure, a whole lot of interest. We bring them on into the booth now, though. Greg Favell, Wayne Walker, to both of you, congratulations. A massive win in the Sandown 500 today. I don't know who wants to kick this off. We might start with Wayne. Mate, super consistent all day, showing that pace that we saw right throughout the main season. How did it feel out on track?
Yeah, the track felt good. It was pretty much just putting consistent lap in, lap after lap, and Greg did an awesome job as well in his stints. I'm able to bring it home for the win.
Oh, it was in the end a fairly comfortable one. Greg, we were kind of wondering towards the end there if you might back off, but still lapping around in the low 109s. It just seems easier for you guys to keep the pace at what you're expecting, I suppose. Is that pretty much the plan you had in mind?
Yeah, once you're in the rhythm and got the flow going, get in the zone, you try and slow down. I make mistakes, so just do what I was doing all race and then hopefully keep it all together.
Well, you've both done that in spades today. Talk to us about race 3. First of all, are we seeing you both team up in the Bathurst 1000?
Oh, I think so. I think we've got something working now, so...
seems to have paid off all right. The Bathurst 1000 is iconic, right? It's a race that any Australian knows all about, even if they're not a motorsport fan. It takes a bit of a special approach to get through. What's the plan? I know we're a long way out from it yet, but what sort of race strategy do you take into a race of that distance?
Oh, I don't go in with strategies. We have an idea of what we want, but you got to wait and see what the race plays out before you start making decisions. I do anyway. So,
no, fair enough.
Wayne,
you got anything up the sleeve, mate?
I think the only thing I would say is keep it out of the fence. That'd be about it at Bathurst.
Just, always wise advice, honestly. It's a tough track, and look, certainly something I should probably take note of every time I get out there. Guys, look, we don't want to keep you long because I imagine you're both pretty wrecked after that one. Just a massive congrats on the drive today and a stellar result. Looking forward to seeing what you deliver in the Bathurst 1000. We'll let you go and unwind and celebrate a bit, hey?
No worries. Thanks for fellas, and thanks to the league, and thanks for putting the broadcast on.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you both. Wayne Walker and Greg Favell taking the win here today in the Sandown 500. We'll make our way down through the order, I suppose. And instead of jumping to third, we'll jump across to second place. Rick Kuznetsov, have we got you in the chat?
I am here, yep.
And I believe we've got Brody Sentence in with us now as well. To both of you, a massive well done. That was a huge drive, and we agreed probably about 10 laps out from the end, the drive of the day to come from 27th up to second place. We might start with you, Brody. How did you find the racing here today?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I sort of just jumped in the middle there and sort of just cycled a bit until the last stint for Rick. So I didn't have too much action going on, but yeah, it was still nice and smooth.
Oh, look, certainly looked at it, and the results speak for themselves. Rick, your laps were absolutely blinding in terms of pace throughout pretty much every time you were behind the wheel. Was that sort of the plan from the beginning? You were going to try and push and Brody would just maintain? Was that the strategy going in?
Yeah, starting from the back, I've started the race, trying to get as many positions as I can. Unfortunately, I did get a drive-through in that sequence, which wasn't great, but it just made it more difficult for us, so we just had to keep pushing.
Yeah, look, if not for the drive-through, it could have been a win even. You know, we saw the drive-through happen. It only just occurs, as you mentioned it, that would have absolutely put you up front. But regardless, a second place, nothing to sneeze at for both of you. The big question, are you back for the Bathurst 1000?
We'll definitely consider it if it lines up with everything in our calendars and we're not busy, for sure.
Nice one. Well, gents, a huge drive. Congrats again. A great result. And we'll let you go and get into whatever beverage you choose at this point, because it's well deserved.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for putting the broadcast up.
Always a pleasure. Brody and Rick, well done. A P2 for the Sandown 500. And last but not least, by any measure, we of course turn to the boys from Fishy Motorsports, all too familiar. David Coleman and Jamie Dyke, welcome to the broadcast booth.
Hey boys, how are you?
Look, I reckon I'm a fair bit more comfortable than both of you are right now after 500 Ks around Sandown. We might start with Jamie. Mate, you were telling us you were a bit nervous going into following on from Coleman's opening stint, but delivered pretty comfortably in the end. How did it feel for you out on track? The conditions seemed pretty perfect from where we were sitting.
Yeah, it was alright. Track temp kind of got me a little bit and struggled with a couple corners, but I was still nervous after Coleman's effort at the start. I'm just glad I could get my laps out of the way and hand it back over clean.
And that seemed to be a battle, particularly through the early parts of the race. Certainly a lot more, let's say, aggressive racing than perhaps we've seen before across the ASR series. David, you managed to keep yourself pretty well out of it all throughout most of it, but we did note the championship play there to let Rick Kuznetsov through and just play it safe to take P3 for the overall standings. Was that hard to do? Because I know you like to push pretty hard, mate.
I was probably driving a bit because I was looking at we were like half a litre tight on fuel, so the more I pushed, but I think ultimately, the driver rookies, like I think he was going to get me anyway, so it was more a bit of a concede, take the spot. But in terms of Dyke, like I've handed over the car in the lead. Where's that coming back? MCM champion, he doesn't look after me. Dyke drove well, so yeah.
No, look, a huge try from both of you today against some very stiff competition. I think in the end, the finishing gaps really don't come close to demonstrating just how tough it was out on track. And so to finish with a P3 and reasonably comfortably at that, I think just speaks volumes about the effort you both put in. We'll let you go and unwind a bit there because I'm sure there is sweat and all sorts going on that is best relieved with, again, a refreshing beverage of your choice, and well deserved, boys.
Thanks, boys. Good broadcast as always. So, awesome work.
You make it easy for us, mate. Keep the driving up. Appreciate it. David and Jamie, well done. P3 here in the Sandown 500 today.
Thanks, boys. Take it easy.
Well, that's going to be about it for our broadcast this afternoon, folks. Isaac, thank you so much for jumping in the booth with me. I hope you've enjoyed the experience here today at Sandown. Any particular favourite moments?
Oh, let me start. Well, definitely that incident between those two drivers were
a bit wild. I'll look forward to reading the race control report in a little while and see how that one sort of all played out. But look, that's for future us to worry about. Folks, if you are enjoying the racing, thank you so much for sticking around through all of it. Of course, it's a bit of an undertaking, a Sandown 500. Keep in mind, though, in just a few months' time, we'll be back at it for round 3 of the 2025 Alliance Sim Racing Endurance Championship. The ultimate in Australian motorsport, the Bathurst 1000, will be coming to you right here on the ASR channel, as always covered by Simple Racing Broadcast, so can't wait to bring that one to you. But on behalf of everyone here, a massive thank you to our sponsors Quantum Tint Solutions and AA West Automotive, to Tim Nickel Photography, and of course 24/7 Sim Services for their amazing race control once again. It's been a pleasure, as always, bringing it to you folks. Until next time, do make sure you look after yourselves, take care, keep your eye on the channel for, of course, Season 5, just around the corner of the regular V8 Supercar series with Alliance Sim Racing. But until then, it is a very good bye for now.